We're off.
We're off. Here we go. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sunday Night Breakdown. Daniel Ratledge and Dave Forrester with you to go through all the action in Super League basketball this weekend. It's nearly Christmas, Dave.
Yeah,
You know what that means?
Grinch. Oh, you've
You
got you.
like my mug, Dave? Roland
Oh,
and
oh
his
my
lovely mum
goodness.
Charlie gave me that. What else have I got here?
That's
Oh,
beyond.
look at that. And that. Oh, and wait, I've got something from the Purdy family here as well. Happy Nix-mas. Merry
Oh,
Nix-mas,
no,
everybody.
yeah, like the attempt at creativity, albeit.
Bottle
Yeah,
of beer. Can't
bottle of
go.
beer.
Loads of sweets, Dave. I haven't even had, I've got from Karen and Carl, I haven't even had time to open that one, Dave.
Let's have a look at the cup, the mug again, please. Because I mean,
You know what, Dave? I have actually got two of these if you want me to send you one up.
no, I mean that's obviously a thinner version of you.
I had my morning coffee in the
Yeah,
other
well,
one of these two or
maybe you
something.
15 years ago on that one, I think,
Well, possibly.
in
Yeah,
profile. But yeah,
possibly.
it's very impressive. I have
Yeah,
to say.
yes.
Very
Thank you
impressive.
to all the Knicks Nation who showered me and Azania with gifts yesterday. It was much appreciated and very unwarranted, but much appreciated nonetheless.
They're very needy, aren't they?
They're very nice, Dave. That's the word you're looking for. Very
That was
nice.
indeed the word I was looking for. That, as I say, Grinch.
Um, I wasn't actually going to mention that I wasn't going to talk about the GB game, Dave, but I have a feeling you believe in the basketball gods, and I've got a theory for you, Dave,
Yeah,
which
I am a
is
karma version. I do believe in karma. Yeah,
the basketball gods. This game nearly the game against Lithuania nearly didn't happen,
yeah,
and the basketball gods' reward for this game happening was one of the greatest endings in the history of basketball at any level anywhere in the world. And the punishment for us for cancelling the game was that we had to endure the defeat of it, and
yeah,
it was on reflection, and obviously it's not very fair on Mark and the players, who none of whom it was their fault, but they're the ones that had to endure the heartbreak of it all. But on reflection, it felt like some sort of poetic justice that we lost that game in that manner.
yeah, yeah. And that's really, that is. I mean, it's remarkable that we had a team. We didn't have a game 3 weeks beforehand.
Mm.
We could only field 10 players. Obviously, Quinn was kept away, but we still could only field 10 players. It's an international game.
Mm.
It's been on the schedule for 7 months, and you can't get a team out. Why is that? Because the game will have been cancelled, and the players thought, oh, we've got a week off. Great. So, that in itself was remarkable. Um, then the game itself, the reality of the situation is that we have a pretty good qualifying team.
Mm.
We're not great in competitions when the standard goes up a bit, but from a qualifying perspective, which is, it's a bit like county cricket. You don't want the best players, you want the best ones who are available.
Yeah, yeah. Or
You know,
although rugby I think changed this year, whether you can have your international players during the season. Yeah.
yeah, but and so you've got your Euro Cup players and some guys, and they've got a clear togetherness about them. You can see, that there's a bond growing there, which all international programs have to have. And as a result, you're able to compete with some high-level basketball nations because they don't have their EuroLeague players either,
Mm,
or their NBA players either. It was a hell of a game,
mm,
and they did everything they could, and then didn't manage the game well in the end,
mm,
ultimately. And
mm,
the biggest, they gave 11 points in the last 18 seconds. Gabe gave away a foul and offensive rebound, which gave him two freebies,
mm.
which he was frustrated about. And then we didn't play the numbers. You
Yeah.
know,
I
the
also
numbers are.
wondered actually, and again, I hadn't planned on, I haven't written anything down,
Mm,
but I also wondered whether that foul on the baseline was a little bit close to an unsportsmanlike, and whether if they'd gone to the monitor, we'd have got two shots in possession, and that would have killed the game.
yeah, maybe. The way I see it though is that you're up 6 or 7, and only threes can beat you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we gave up two kind of step-in threes
Mm,
in semi-transition, where we had people between that player and the back in the basket,
mm,
and we all had to be up. At that point in the game, you have to defend the three-point line.
mm.
And if he scores a two, it doesn't matter. It
Yeah.
literally doesn't matter. And we gave up two threes and got the ball in bounds. Miles only makes one shot. Then we get the ball in bounds. Then we have a chance to throw the ball in bounds again. We have to take the time out. It's panic. I don't have any truck for saying, oh, we should have just kept playing. You have to take the time.
I think it's one of those. in hindsight, don't call the timeout and everything will be great. But there are zero coaches in the world who would do that. Everybody calls
Have
the
to advance
timeout
the ball. I mean,
because you
three
advance the ball and go, well, what's the worst that can happen? We turn it over and they make a 45 jump shot, 45-foot shot.
is what happened. And not only did we turn it over, Olasheni was open. The pass was thrown too high by Wheatle. We'll get to that in a minute. Olasheni, if he hadn't tipped it, we're all right. We can
Yeah.
set the defense, but Olasheni tips it. Who's the guy who switched on to Olasheni by pure chance? It's the guy who's made two in a row
Mm,
in the last, in the last 9 seconds. He happens to get the basketball and then he shoots that, he makes that shot. I mean, what you would say is you probably, it reminded me of when OJ did it against, for us, again, for Cheshire, against us when we had the ball with 2 seconds to go on the sideline and Fab threw it to Kai Williams and they knocked the ball out of his hands and OJ scored on the buzzer. And it's like, with hindsight, you would say, oh, if you're panicking, just throw it off his foot or throw the ball under their opposition basket.
mm.
Just throw it up high there for someone to catch,
Yeah, yeah.
as opposed to risking throwing it the halfway line. But at the end of the day, it
The
hit.
game looked open at that point.
He was when he had two hands on the ball,
Yeah,
Dan.
yeah,
It was just 6 inches too high, and so it's just one of those things. But an incredible shot,
yeah. It is.
shot. But more than that, I mean, I thought it was a pretty encouraging game from our perspective. And then what they did on Sunday was probably more impressive,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah,
because with a little bit of help from Hermansen hurting his ankle,
yeah,
and obviously with Quinn Ellis adding a totally different level of control at times to the game with his Euro point guard, EuroLeague point guard. To win that game in Iceland and end up being top of the group,
yeah, yeah,
remarkably,
yeah, yeah.
was a real accomplishment.
That's why it's even more heartbreaking because you think we could have been the only 2-0.
But here's the thing that I
Yeah,
don't think. Here's
yeah,
me knowing basketball players, right?
yeah,
I don't think Carl Wheatle has that game in Iceland
yeah, maybe.
if he
Yeah,
hasn't thrown the ball six
yeah,
inches too high for game all of a
yeah,
sudden.
yeah, yeah,
Because I think Carl Wheatle will have lived with that for 3 days. Because everything you've seen about Carl Wheatle is
yeah,
massively, mega impressive.
yeah,
And he was 10 of 12 in that game in Iceland.
yeah,
22 points. And I think sometimes you need to have the loss has a galvanizing effect, just like what happened with Lithuania, who then
yeah,
go to Italy, who
yeah,
then go back home, play Italy, and lose by a point.
yeah,
Italy having lost to Iceland.
yeah,
One kind of game does beget the next one. It would have been
yeah,
nice to have been 2-0, but I'm
yeah,
guaranteeing you, Lithuania are thinking it would have been nice to be 2-0.
yeah,
Iceland are thinking it got away from us being 2-0.
yeah,
And
yeah,
Italy are thinking we should be 2-0 as well. So
yeah,
it's all to play for. And we've got to play Italy twice in February, and no doubt there'll be fun and games with whether Quinn's available for that.
yeah, yeah, particularly given who he plays for.
Exactly. So we'll see where that goes. But overall, I thought again, it rather galled me to see that there were some members of the old GB
Mm,
basketball board sitting on the sideline.
mm,
I found that, I mean, because they wouldn't have paid for the tickets.
mm,
And I think, what have you done to deserve that? What possible credit can you take for what's gone on? The tickets went on sale about a week before.
mm,
I think, the reality is if it wasn't for some people outside of the GB bubble, the GB basketball, outside of the board and outside the bubble, that game would never have taken place.
mm.
And I don't see any thanks for those people for that's come out publicly. We have a vacuum at the moment which needs filling,
Yeah.
whether it's going to be by Basketball England or others, um, in relation to running events, running these big games. And this is the shop window. So
Mm.
it's not just an add-on. It's not an
And as you
add-on.
say, let's be fair, with Christmas and New Year's in the way, February's not that far away.
No, it's not. And I am going to have an issue, but I can see it coming with the same organ. If it obviously the national governing bodies are basically in the prime place now to kind of take over, albeit they were part of the previous board because they elected people onto it. But I'm going to have issues if we have situations where the body that's responsible for running junior under 14s league is also the same body that's responsible for promoting
Mm,
international basketball
mm,
in 7,000 CS gyms. I don't think it's viable. I don't think it's appropriate. I think there needs to be a coming together of everybody, and people need to be doing the roles that they are most suited to and most experienced in. And that might involve giving away some power, and that is the bottom line with all of this.
mm,
How much is it about kind of agglomeration of power, and how much is it about genuinely working together and putting people in the best place to do the things that they are best suited to do, i.e. run events?
mm.
Wait and see.
Yeah, we will. Anyway, we spent 10 minutes on something I
Yeah.
hadn't planned on talking
Well,
about. So let's
yeah,
get to.
I mean, come on, it's one of the greatest finishes
Yeah,
ever at the
it
Copper.
was
I
one
mean,
of the
come
great.
on.
It was where I was just sitting there and I was watching on my laptop
Yeah.
and my wife and son were watching something else on the telly and I was just going, what the? They're like, shut up. I
I
was like,
just
couldn't
I
believe
just
it.
turned off when it went in.
Yeah.
I just turned off. I
Well,
just literally
w
pressed the cross button in the corner, turned off. I'm not interested. I've had
so
enough. I
so
felt,
here's a little behind the curtains for people at home. The international, the FIBA stuff is all done
mm,
remotely. The commentary's done
yeah.
remotely. And guess who's my sister's neighbor?
Oh, to
To
here.
here. To here is my sister's neighbor. So my sister texts me and going, "What the hell is going on with
No,
Tahir?" And I was like, "You should have just seen what I just seen."
it's,
Oh dear.
it's a shame that you couldn't be in the venue,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's
Really, I know it's all done like that. I get
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And to be fair, I mean, the lady who was doing the Iceland game and went on, Sunday didn't seem to know, who our best player, what our best player's name was.
Mm.
So, I think there's a room for improvement there as well. But we criticize everything else, so let's just give
Yeah,
that a break for a
yeah,
moment.
yeah, we will.
But no, but yeah, I don't know what Tahir must have been like, commentating on that because you've got to,
Mm.
it's just about the most exciting thing that could ever happen in the game of basketball. The most remarkable finish in Reggie Miller stuff in New York,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Madison Square Garden, and yet it's against your team.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and you're sitting there with I don't think I could have done that. I think that's
yeah.
very. I thought he was very professional in the way he did it.
Let's get to the SLB action. Let's start on Thursday night with Surrey 89ers 79, Cheshire Phoenix 86. I was all set to have a big orange versus green rant, but then
And
somehow this wasn't even the worst kick clash
of the
of the
week.
week. So all I'm going to say is this is a clash, and we need to be better than this in 2025. We have to be more accessible. And I know people go, "Oh, it wasn't a problem for me. I'm all right. What are you moaning about?" Well, I can see it, but I think what's coming up shows you exactly the issue that people have. It wasn't too bad for me, but I know a lot of people out there will struggle with orange versus green, and it's an easy solution. The rules actually already provide us with the solution. I don't think orange is the light color. I'm not 100% sure how dark green is, but anyway, there needs to be more of a contrast so that I don't have to. I don't want to moan about it. Stop me moaning about it by making it easier. But we'll come back to
Well, we
this.
have, well, yeah, I've got a whole lot of stuff about rules and governance coming up
Yeah,
later on,
yeah,
but
yeah,
just throw that, add that to the list.
yeah. So Lawrence and Queeley out for Surrey. Kuntz returned back into the starters, although he spent most of the game on the bench in foul trouble. Robinson was out for this game, so Rideau was back into the starting lineup. I must admit, I was a little worried when it took Surrey over a minute just to get a shot attempt, but it was pretty even. Well, I've got for the first quarter. It was actually pretty even for much of the game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, sorry, kind of weird because this whole game, I didn't think the shot quality was anything like as good as Cheshire's.
Mm.
But Cheshire sometimes harm themselves by going, excessively basball, excessively, I can put it that way. But nevertheless, they're generally taking shots at their comfortable shooting. Whereas Surrey were really kind of struggling. And as you say, I mean, Kuntz hasn't played for maybe what 6 to 8 weeks.
Mm.
Didn't pull up any trees before he started. When he started, and so he comes straight into the starting lineup. He must be a good practice player. That's
Mm.
that's all I say. And he's got, in like every rookie, you've got to give him time to kind of assimilate, and he hasn't had that yet. But didn't really assist them that much. And outside of kind of Graham, who was quite aggressive and helpful and useful on the boards and finishing inside, they and particularly without kind of Lawrence and Queally, who are probably, again, it's all the British guys who seem to get hurt, if you notice.
Mm.
Um, you didn't really see where they're going to score, but they kept scoring.
Mm.
And that was the thing. And I'm thinking, how is it that they're still in this game? Because Cheshire seemed to be getting better shots. They had a deeper roster. They're running fast, playing hard, running fast, running the way they do, shooting the ball the way they want to, and with more length and more depth. Yeah, sorry, wouldn't go away, and
Mm.
that's kind of been almost a calling card for them so far. That they're a team that's difficult to actually put away. Um, Other than that, I just remember thinking all the way through the game, I thought Cheshire were going to win it
Yeah, yeah.
because of the quality of shot that they were getting, and because of the depth they had on their bench. Now, it was interesting that they were being without Robinson did make a difference because he's been a substantial part of their offense off the bench. He's been
Mm,
using a lot of possessions, to use the vernacular, and that I think probably helped Cheshire a little, helped Surrey a little bit, and then it made it a little bit more difficult for Cheshire to get to the hoop as much.
mm.
Um, but you just didn't feel like there was enough offense there for Surrey or enough good shots there
Yeah.
for them to, and they weren't knocking down that many shots either for them to kind of to pull through, and that's just the way it ended.
Yeah, I mean, Cheshire were generally a basket or two ahead, but it was really the fourth quarter. They had a 9-2 run early in the fourth quarter. They got out to 10 at that point, 61-71. That was kind of the decisive run. They rose up by at least seven after that. But as you say, it felt like it was, oh, they'll get away in a minute. They'll get away in a minute. And they never quite did.
Yeah, and Surrey just aren't that spurtable. You don't
Mm,
see the opportunity for them to go on like in Cheshire can go on a 9-0 run like that. You
mm,
don't really see that with Surrey at
mm,
the moment. But they're playing, with reduced roster. Obviously, Kuntz just comes back. They're still only playing five Americans. They're still promoting the British guys in Chalvinskas and Nwankwo and Ling. And there was a guard who played in this game whose name I'm afraid embarrassingly escapes me. He was another one of Lloyd's players who was competitive and was getting into Rideau's face. And so they are still sticking to their mantra. Um, you know, I don't quite know. They still have only played 8 games. I
mm,
still don't quite know whether they're going to, be a 500 team or whether they're going to struggle to win games consistently against the strength of the opposition in the league. Cheshire won an away game. You have to think that if that had been a home game, you'd have thought that the way the teams were, you'd have thought Cheshire might win by 20 or 30.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
on the road, they are more vulnerable, undoubtedly. And particularly that Robinson, again, that takes away a ball handler and an attack point. But they're the opposite of Surrey. They got
Hmm.
six Americans and they got, their British guys are basically naturalized guys as well. And both, it's fine by me. That's not a criticism. Both because you play the rules that are set.
Mm, mm.
You play the rules that are set.
Polite 22 points, 4 assists. Lily 16 points, although 1 of 10 from 3-point range and 7 turnovers. Small 13 points and 9 rebounds. They had 22 turnovers in total. Sorry, which is another reason that you sort of go, how are they still in this game?
I think
Um,
they struggled a little bit with Rideau's. Rideau's, is a ball hawk of a defender. We
mm,
talk about Rideau a lot on this show, but he is being talked about a lot because he has a substantial impact on every
yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah.
That's the reality of it. In various different ways, good and bad. And coming up, you got two rookie guards coming up against him. And Cheshire's physicality, because they do play physical defensively. There's no criticism in that. I think Surrey struggled with that a little bit. Surrey don't really have much in the way of internal initiators either of offense. It
Mm,
all has to kind of come via the guards.
mm,
Small's a finisher. Graham is a finisher. Um, Cholovinskas basically is a finisher. He doesn't play much at the point anymore. So they require a lot of creation from their guards, and that can put a big weight on them. So that's where the turnovers come from because of the pressure they're under. That's why Kunz has struggled a little bit because I think he's a finisher as well.
mm,
I think he's a shooter and kind of a catch and go guy, and he's having to make reads and make passes, and I'm not sure that's his game. But he averaged 17 a game, NCAA double one, Division One, so he can score.
mm.
Actually looked him up after this game. So I think there is something there, but it's just that they're a little bit short on shot creation.
Brenchley, 17.6 rebounds, 4 assists. White, 15 points. Rideau, 14 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds.
Yeah, Brenchley's a guy you don't talk about as much
Yeah,
at all, but he's,
yeah. But
because
he's
Rideau
what an
takes up all the
impact.
energy, but he's a guy you better not forget about,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
basically. Yeah.
yeah. Let's come to Friday then. Sheffield Sharks 68, Newcastle Eagles 80. Dark blue versus black was an interesting choice. Now, the rules say the away team has to wear a light color, and in the event of a clash, it says the away team has to change. or the teams can agree to flip it. I know the Eagles played on white and then subsequently played in white on Wednesday and then subsequently again on Sunday. I saw a tweet from Eric saying it had been agreed a week in advance that the Eagles would wear black. So I don't know what the situation is, but whatever it is, this isn't good enough. The one thing I took from this is the rest of you had to go, well, they've got a little splash and they've got these white stripes down the side in order to tell the teams apart. And this is welcome to my world, people.
Yeah,
This is what we have to deal with when you put red and green on the same court.
yeah, and not
But
not.
the general point is we can't have this. We can't have this.
No, I agree. I don't know, and I don't know the facts, and I haven't sought to find them out. So I don't
Mm,
know. I do go back with the Eagles team manager, Eric, about 15 years.
mm.
And if he tweet, and I would
We've
be,
no reason to doubt him.
I would be surprised
Yeah,
if
yeah.
there wasn't some basis in fact for what he is. In fact, I'd be amazed if there wasn't some basis in fact for what he is suggesting. But I'm not going to comment on it because I don't know. I do know we never had a clash in 11 years when we were always black or white,
Mm,
and it was generally black at home, white on the road. We never had a
mm,
clash in 11 years. I was on the bench and Eric was on the bench with us the whole time. So yeah, but you're right. It's not good enough. There has to be a way forward, or there has to be an announcement or an acknowledgement of a mistake being made. At the very least, somebody has to acknowledge, that,
mm,
oh, we screwed up. You can accept this. You can always accept a screwing up if it doesn't if it's come from the right place, if it's just
mm,
crossed wires or whatever, and but nothing's said, nothing is done. From my perspective, it probably gave the Eagles a better chance of winning, because with the bench that they had, it was helpful if Sheffield want to throw them the ball a few times.
yeah.
But no, I'm with you, Dan. I'm with you. When I got there, when I turned the screen, I was like, "What's going on here?"
Mm,
What is going on here? Obviously, Newcastle had 3 games in 5 days, so I'm assuming that obviously they need the white kit for Caledonia. They need the white kit for. I'm assuming they needed the white kit for the home game against Heracles because
mm.
Heracles were in Greek. I mean, to be honest, they could have come out bare naked against Heracles. It's got utterly hammered, tows, absolute tousing, by a team that was just 100 times better than some of the teams in our league. Put it that way.
Mm,
Um, so yeah,
mm,
but yeah, I don't excuse it. I can't explain it.
mm.
Um, can't really explain the game either.
No, let's get into the game. Newcastle missing Okafor, Smith, Hammond, Anthony, Josh Ward-Hibbert, so just 7 players. A second career start for Candy as a result of
Yeah,
that. James, finally in for his Sharks debut. Fair to say he was a little bit off his best. 2 early fouls, 2 missed shots, back to the bench. He didn't really
he hasn't
play.
played for. Yeah, he
He
played a
didn't
little
play.
in the summer, I think, in the TBT, but he basically hasn't played for 9 months.
Yeah, yeah,
Not ex, the first game is a write-off. It's always going
yeah,
to be a
yeah,
write-off.
yeah,
And I think, Tiba must have thought when he saw the Eagles line, it was a good one to write off because
yeah,
I think we should have enough. And obviously, they're still down Nixon as well. But Newcastle were, immediately after the Heracles game, in the centre circle, it wasn't just kind of stick your hands in there and clap the crowd. It was kind of Mark was going at them for about 3 or 4 minutes. It was kind of Phil Brown on the pitch style.
yeah. Okay.
Okay, no, not as ostensible as that because
Yeah.
but there was something there, and I think it was the fact that basically, look, we didn't compete. Not that we were expected to beat this team, didn't compete with this team. And at the time, I was watching it thinking, oh, damn, I'm not sure where this is going to go. I'm not sure if he's going to lose the players here.
Mm,
And in fact, the opposite happened.
mm.
So he knows that's why coaches know and pundits don't.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's why they're in the locker room and we're not. And as you say, yeah, Candace not only started, but probably the best compliment I can give him is that he had a Coutinho style game.
Mm,
He defended Chapman, he defended Williams. He only shot the ball 3 times, or 2 times really, because one was in the last second when it didn't matter. He played 20 minutes, played good defense, but competed and was a plus 15 at the end of the game. It was the highest
yeah.
plus points in the game.
Mm,
So, there is he's limited in his offense, but if you told me that the Eagles could go there with Candy and Canway starting with Clark and Defoe coming off the bench, which is kind of the ultimate little and large combo,
mm,
nothing else, and holds Sheffield to 68, I would have looked at you like you were talking about the first half.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Given some of the other games that we've
yeah,
seen,
yeah, yeah,
given
yeah.
what London did to them, and yeah, now, so the downside of that, and you take us through it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So the Eagles scored 9 of the first 11 points. Sheffield had it back tied up at 11 all. It was a bit of a slog first quarter. I thought 13 of 37 combined field goal shooting. Eagles got back up 6 with a 7-1 run in the middle of the second quarter. They actually never trailed again after that. Obviously went to
Yeah, I mean,
halftime.
and that brings us. I mean, it brings us a little bit to the. I mean, it's two things. Just deal with Newcastle first. Um, you're right. It didn't really get much closer than that. Um, and the thing about Newcastle is that offensively, it is still a struggle for them at times. The numbers would suggest that they're not shooting a high percentage, but they're not turning the ball over.
Mm,
They had like 6 turnovers in this game.
mm.
Now, you've just told me that Surrey had 22 in a game.
So 6 turnovers in a game is the lowest since the playoff final. Actually, it's the lowest this season.
Well,
Remarkably, in the playoff final, both teams only had six turnovers.
well, it wasn't much of a final after the first
Mm,
15 minutes, was it?
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. But I think that's kind of, we're beginning to see that's kind of a guiding light of kind of Stootle teams, is that, they look after the ball.
Mm,
And sometimes they don't get the best shot as a result. I mean, they only had 10 turnovers tonight against Caledonia as well. But 6 turnovers for a professional team in a game
mm,
as you say, it's on the road in that, is a hell of a thing. So why did Newcastle win this game? Because they shot a far lower percentage than Sheffield. Well, positively, the reason that they won it is because they had, I think, 10 less turnovers and 8 more offensive rebounds and had 18 extra possessions.
mm,
So they had, I think, 20 more shot attempts than Sheffield.
mm,
Now that brings you on to the next question, which is athletically, that shouldn't be happening. When
mm,
you look at the combine, look at the team, look at the lineups, look at the athletes that Sheffield have. How is it happening that Newcastle are getting 8 more offensive rebounds than them?
mm,
How is it that Sheffield aren't able to put pressure on Clark and Taylor, who, they're not probably you would describe as the highest level SLB ball
mm.
handlers.
They're not Gino Crandall.
They're not Gino Crandall, no, no,
Mm,
absolutely not. So most of this game, whilst I was thinking, Jesus, Newcastle might actually win this game, I
mm,
was kind of trying to figure out what's happening with Sheffield.
mm,
Because I watched Sheffield 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, at the arena against Newcastle. And yeah, Newcastle were up 13 with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. But Chapman was a different level to everybody else in the
mm.
team. Chapman had like 19 points, 14 assists in 22 minutes or something.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
ran, just absolutely bossed it. In this game, he was totally disconnected.
Mm,
Totally disconnected from the game. Then you look at, outside of maybe 3 or 4 minutes of activity from Dirk out after the beginning of the third quarter, you just didn't see any type of urgency in Sheffield. And they went from, being pretty soporific to start with to almost catatonic by the
mm,
end.
mm,
Now, what they ended up doing was relying on Kern, who went off for 20 odd points. But the difficulty with Kern getting that amount of possessions is that they generally end up with Kern shooting the ball.
mm,
So he's scoring efficiently. He's not doing what the team has brought him in to do, but it's not but nobody else is getting the touches.
mm.
So you end up with a remarkable situation where five guys, the five starters, none of them get into double figures.
Yeah,
Guy off the bench scores 26.
yeah, yeah.
So it's just a totally skew if whilst your team's being out rebounded and out intangibled in relation to turnovers, etc.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So just a weird game, I thought,
yeah.
from the colours, from the kit colours all the way through. I just thought it was a weird game. Didn't see it coming. It does. Thankfully, it makes my case for the fact that you can't have too few players, but you can have too many.
Mm,
Because suddenly all the Newcastle guys knew they had to step up because basically, and then you give people opportunity, and this is the kind of the Surrey way of doing it. So
mm,
Candy and Canway, they've got the opportunity to play, and then Candy, as I say, does everything the coach would want, plays particularly tough, guards the opposition's best players effectively, and Canway has 13 rebounds.
mm, mm.
So they're getting that opportunity and they're making plays. But I couldn't figure Sheffield out. Everything just seemed to be totally soporific, totally, down. I don't know what feeling you got. I was
Yeah,
watching.
no, exactly the same. And then Mitch Clark, 11 points in 5 minutes in the third quarter. Eagles lead went out to 12, and it never really looked like never looked like they were going to get back in. I mean, Maceo Jack saw it home in the fourth quarter, but most of the fourth quarter was double figure lead.
Well, the fourth quarter was 11 points each, and Newcastle's fourth quarter offense is, it's pretty scary to watch. It's like watching a car crash in real time. It has been for all season. And Maceo Jack basically scored 9 of the 11 points.
Mm,
Um, but Sheffield never got any sort of run going because
no,
Newcastle were competing and getting second shots and getting, and defending the way they had to. And you just got the impression that, I don't know, without Nixon there, who was kind of the one guy who, Chapman's up and down a little bit. As I say, he has the capacity of being the best player in the league. Obviously, just won Player of
yeah,
the Month,
player of the
so
month. Yeah,
so
and
he's
his
way
numbers were
down.
unbelievably good.
Yeah, well, yeah, but the way he played in Newcastle, Dan, he was just like, it was like watching one of the guys for the Greek team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he wasn't there in that game. Then they don't have Nixon as kind of the guy who goes, right, stuff this. We're going to have to make a couple of shots and
Yeah,
get the
yeah,
crowd going. We ain't doing out this way. Then they were all, and James was trying to fit in, and it was all just a bit weird. But a hell of a win for Newcastle.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Coming on the road in Sheffield is always going to be tough. And I think it's Sheffield's only game this weekend, so maybe they'll take it away and come to play Newcastle again next week in the trophy. So we'll see what comes on Friday.
Maybe they could have wore their away kit as well. On the third quarter buzzer, Darius Defoe with the layup, and that layup moved him past Yorick Williams into fifth all time in scoring in top flight
Quite ironic because
British
I
basketball.
don't think many of them have come on kind of a fake move with a left hand dribble crossing over to his right,
Yeah,
steps from the three
he
point line.
had earlier on. He had a couple of nice little 15-foot mid
But
ranges. I'm thinking that's got to be it, surely. A little elbow jump, that's got to be it, surely, and it wasn't.
he's
Uh,
impacting. He hasn't. I'm not sure where Darius his health is, to be honest, because he doesn't seem to have the lift on the jump shot that he
mm,
had. But what he does have is a presence defensively.
mm,
But that play, yeah, that was kind of I haven't seen one of them in
mm.
and very few. So 6,000, how many? 6,702.
You know what? I didn't even write the number down, but he's gone past. He's gone past Yorick. The other thing is those earlier missed shots then allowed him. That basket was also where he drew level with Nigel Lloyd in second most field goal attempts in top flight
So
British
I'm
basketball.
assuming Scans is top on them both.
Yeah, yeah. So he will not move. I don't think. I think he will finish in fifth in scoring. He's Billy Singleton is next. He's fourth, but I think he'd have to play to 27, 28 to at the
Well,
pace that he's
Is
scoring
Billy over
at.
7,000 points?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Billy, I can't remember. I can look it
Well, I
up.
think Billy might be 6,930 or something like that. I think Charles is then next, and then Nigel, and then Scants, I think.
And he'd have to. I think he'd have to play till he's 50 to catch
Oh yeah,
Scants
no Scants and
on the
Scants.
field goal shots as well.
For
So,
those who
but
don't know, Scants is Peter Scantlebury.
oh yeah,
He
sorry.
played for 20 odd years from
Yeah,
right at the
he
beginning of
played
BPL.
whole for he played, but in some of Scant's points aren't counted because some of them were
Yeah.
from before the BBL started as well.
He was a shooting guard who played for lots of teams down, but primarily when he was really good for Thames Valley.
Yeah,
And then he ended up in Sheffield with the really good Sheffield team. He had half a season at Newcastle, which didn't go great with the wrong coach, and then just continued to score. And his case is remarkable because him and Defoe must kind of almost cover the 40 years that
yeah, yeah, yeah,
they've
yeah,
been
yeah. They
going.
will do. Yeah.
So Scants will have finished just as Darius was starting.
Yeah. So Scantlebury is the all-time leading point scorer with 8,324. Nigel Lloyd 7,838 in second. Then Charles Smith 7,048. Billy Singleton is 6,950. And then Darius is 6,716 and Yorick 6,715.
But Darius just got to average about 15 a game for the rest of the season. Come
Well,
on.
if he could do that, I was looking
Yeah, I think Stuart would
more at his
appreciate it. Yeah.
recent. He does lead all time in personal fouls.
I would not. I'm
He's
surprised.
well past Fab on
He's
that.
not past five, is he? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, well past. He's probably got another 500 that weren't called as well.
Yeah. What about blocks? Is he anywhere near in blocks?
Blocks. He is where is blocks? Blocks. He is level in 12th with Danny Craven.
Oh, right.
He
Yeah.
could move a few places on that because Scance is 11th or tied for 10th with Kenny Scott, 280.
Darius always
Although
been.
Kenny Scott played 100 games,
Yeah.
so he
Yeah.
did that a little quicker.
Darius has always been taking charges as opposed to
Yeah,
blocks.
yeah,
So that was
yeah,
his thing.
yeah.
Oh no, no, no. Seriously, I mean, it's to be impactful. And at times, as I say, I don't think his health is great. Looking at, I know he had a long ankle injury last year.
Mm,
To be impactful, doing what he does is at that position is
mm,
tough in this league because he's not a natural scorer. He's not a natural athlete. Like, like Charles was a natural scorer, Fab was a natural athlete. And bigs generally eventually kind of fade away. There's only
yeah,
really been probably Youngblood who
yeah.
do his 40s. And he changed by stretching the court a little bit, by shooting the three a little bit.
Cunningham was into his 40s
Yeah,
as well.
Cunningham was I put Cunningham in the kind of the athlete Fab
When, yeah,
category.
oh, okay.
Because he was a bit he was a bigger version of Flanoy basically. He was
Mm,
6'6", he could 6'6", 6'7", he could block shots and do all that type of stuff and go up and down. Um, but modern day, yeah. But I mean, it's still, we'll give him his flowers because it's a
mm,
six, to give that amount of time to the league, half his life basically played in the
mm,
league. These are things that we should celebrate.
mm.
Um, Albeit, he could probably do a picking the average up this season, do you? Come on, I'm watching. Shoot a few more threes, get
Yeah. Yeah, well, remember that weekend, that one weekend where he hit like, what was it? He hit half as many threes in one weekend as he had in his previous career. It was London City Royals away
London
and
City
something in
Royals. It
London.
was London. You're absolutely right. It was London City Royals. I was there. I was at Crystal Palace. I was on the bench, and Tony G was coaching
Yeah, yeah,
with Junior Williams, I think. And we'd beaten them by 50 in the first game, and we knew that they were coming for us in the second.
yeah.
But that season, we basically revamped our offense after about 7 games of the season because of the players that we had, and we just went. We actually played like Cheshire did.
Mm,
Cheshire are doing at the moment. We went 5 out
mm,
because we had Jeremy Smith, Kyle Williams, Fletch, whatever, and guys who basically weren't that great at running offenses. Apart from Fletch, obviously, and so
mm,
we wanted just basically spread everybody out and let you make plays.
mm,
So we said, DD, you're going to start shooting threes.
mm,
And if you look at his stats on that season, you'll see I think he shoots more threes in that season. He's about 19 of 50 or something like that.
mm.
And than he did almost the rest of his career. It was a decent clip. He shot 35%. And at that game, I just love the look on Tony G's face because
Yeah, yeah,
Darius is 37 or 38. I think, well, probably no, not no. He's probably 34 years old. Tony used to coach him at Hackney.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
Tony's guy. He's come up through. For those who don't know, Darius started at Hackney Whiteheat, so he's literally grown up playing in this country all the way through, and then came to Newcastle when he was 18. Didn't go off to college, didn't do the university route, anything like that. Tony basically left Newcastle, told Fab, "There's a kid up here. There's 2 kids here. You should sign him and Perry Lawson." Darius came up, had a trial, went back to London. Fab wanted to sign him. Darius basically turned his phone off. I wouldn't. It was uncontactable for about 3 weeks until Perry grabbed him and said, "Darius, Fab wants to give you a contract," and that happened. And so Tony G knew Darius is going backwards. So
Yeah.
so him standing on the 3-point line at the elbow extended, shooting threes. When he makes his third one, Tony's face is like gone bright, full on Rigsby, bright red. Like what's happening here? He can't shoot them. But yeah, so yeah, I remember that game. I remember that game vividly. We lost by about 15. So it wasn't a great tactical triumph,
Mm.
but I remember it vividly.
But just to underline what you said, in his entire career, taking out 2018-19,
Mm.
he's 16 of 84 from 3-point range. But in 2018-19, he was 14 of 41.
Yeah, and I think he probably has a few in trophy games that aren't
Yeah,
counted.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and that was by design because that was the way we played. That we said we'd get out the post. We were all going to stand there, shoot threes. Fletch could have nobody at the rim and just attack.
yeah.
It was after Leicester beat us actually early on in the season. Leicester beat us at home. We scored like 65 points, and they just shut us down. And we were due to play Leicester. We had Victor Moses that season, and we were due to play Leicester about 10 days later in Leicester, and we just ripped up the whole playbook and said, right,
mm,
this is the only way we're going to beat them is by getting some space
mm,
and have Vic and Darius shoot threes and space the court and let these athletes go to work. And we actually went down to Leicester and won that game. And I think Kyle Williams had about 26 or something like that in that game. And it just kind of flowed from there. It didn't last because eventually we ran out of bodies that year. But there's different ways to play. Sometimes you've got to adapt to what you need to do to win.
yeah.
And that was the biggest example for Darius's career. I still think he should shoot a few more, but he's a creature of habit.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Kern, 11 of 16 for 26 points, 7 rebounds. Deloach, 10 points and 7 rebounds. And it was probably about 10 minutes ago, but you did mention that none of the starters
Yeah.
in double figures. That's only the 15th time in the live stats era that no starter has scored in double figures for a team.
Yeah,
Um,
the Kern thing it's a tough one. He's a gifted scorer. He really is a gifted scorer. He has a body control. He can get to the rim. He's not a shooter. He's a scorer. Um, but he has to work for them.
mm,
And there's a couple where they run like a stacked screen and he can get head down and go to the rim. But a lot of times he's backing people down and stuff, and then everybody kind of stands around having to watch. And that's a difficult thing to integrate as a coach, particularly when you've got a lot of guys on that team who like the ball.
mm,
So, just finding exactly the right balance for him is going to be critical for Sheffield.
mm. Jack, 28 points and 8 rebounds. Clark, 16 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Long, 14 points and 9 rebounds. I already gave the turnover stat earlier. So Bristol Flyers 78, Manchester Basketball 84. Henry was out for Manchester. Holden was suspended
Well,
after that
yeah, but
incident
just
at
on that, well,
Surrey.
let's just do a little crossover out there. Whatever it is, cheers, saying elsewhere, whatever crossover time.
Mm,
Nick Kern
mm.
came off the bench. Remember about 6 weeks ago? Got
Oh yeah, yeah,
disqualified.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Heard anything?
No,
No, no. So
no.
apparently, coming off the bench doesn't even warrant any form of censure, or at least
Mm.
doesn't have done nothing about it. In the
Or
meantime,
he got 9 points and they didn't tell us.
well, either way, just
Yeah,
on. It's not
yeah,
somebody plays. Everybody needs to know what any sanctions are.
yeah, yeah,
No
yeah,
sanction, everybody needs to know. It
yeah.
doesn't matter, but you can't be disqualified from a basketball game and have, for whatever reason, but without any degree of communication afterwards as to what the penalty
Well,
is.
they all, not just him, because they were injured. James and Dixon was
James in
disqualified.
West, I think it was.
West, sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
were.
Yeah, so that's not happened. But in the meantime, what happens is that Cameron Holden, who took advantage of the fact that our referees aren't overly experienced at the moment and
Mm,
managed to throw an elbow straight into the face of, was it a Surrey player?
It was a Surrey player. I forget
Dale,
who it
maybe?
was now.
I can't remember what.
No,
But,
no, it was one of the Americans, but I forget which one.
well, anyway, who got him a good one,
Mm,
right? But was not even punished by way of a foul on the court,
mm,
right? Has somehow, by a process which I'm not sure is particularly opaque and I'm not certainly not aware of,
mm,
being referred to the league
mm,
disciplinary commission for a foul which wasn't called on the court.
mm.
Now, you tell me, Dan, but I don't remember that ever happening before.
Not for, not for, not for something like that. No, I don't. Now, I'm more than happy because I think he should have been disqualified from the game in the first
Yeah,
place.
absolutely.
So,
I'm
so
not,
I'm,
this isn't
I'm,
about facts, this is about
yeah, yeah,
process.
yeah, yeah. But I don't remember. I can't think of anything off the top of my head where during an incident during a game, incidents after games.
Yeah, obviously,
Yeah,
because you
but
can't
but
penalise them on the
yeah,
court.
but I can't remember anything unpunished during the game later on being.
So now who refers that then?
I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Who decides it?
There's been some things over the years where people have got like 3 points for inappropriate language or something like that. But again, I'm sure all of that was at halftime or after the game or
This
something.
is a play in front of a
Yeah,
referee. A
yeah, yeah,
referee hasn't seen,
yeah.
right? And to produce out of no, from my perspective, I'll tell you where I'm coming from on all this. My
Mm,
perspective is very straightforward. Immediately after anybody is disqualified in a game or any form of disciplinary investigation is opened, there
mm,
should be a short press release from the league saying this is now being reviewed.
yeah.
Right? And this isn't this is NBA stuff, right?
Mm.
It really frustrates, and I'm getting towards rant territory here.
Yeah.
Frustrates the heck out of me that, we all want to be as good as we can be, yet we look at the things that happen in the NBA, injury reports,
Mm.
disciplinary reports, announcer control, environment control, all of that stuff. None of it happens here. We don't care enough about it, right? So all the things that the best league in the world does
Mm.
to fuel the news cycle, to build up interest,
Yeah. Yeah.
to keep everything ticking over, yeah, trades, transfers, new signings, injuries, whatever. Every single game there's an injury report in the NBA, right? We assume we don't need,
Mm.
we don't know better. Then there's the things that we, out of our kind of geographical oddities, have built up over the years. You know, the biggest example was obviously the Plymouth Fox, who I never thought I would talk of again, but it's
Yeah.
just come
Yeah.
back to mind.
Yeah.
In relation to building up this kind of quote marks entertainment quotient,
Mm.
right? But it's not uniform, so
No.
everything is different. So for those who don't know, when I was with the Eagles, we used to get pelters at Plymouth because we used to refuse to run out with this during the warm-ups, the special warm-ups that Plymouth did, because we didn't want our guys standing cold in the corridor.
Yeah.
And so we were then spoiling the environment, right? And that's no, yeah, that's well. But beyond that, we have the situations with lighting, we have situations with press, we have situations with announcers. Everything is different everywhere.
Mm.
There is no regulation, and there is no agreed conformity as to this is the way we are going to run our
I think
league.
in some areas there is regulation. I think there's no enforcement in some cases.
That
Again, it
might be
goes
right.
back to the blue black. There is a rule that says you can't play blue versus black, but we all watched it.
And that's exactly what I said to you about the coming further onto it,
Yeah.
moving on. This stuff. This is the stuff that bothers me because it matters. And if Cameron Holden has elbowed somebody,
Mm.
right? And Cameron Holden lost his cool in that game, and he gets a ban. I don't imagine Bristol would have been overly righteous about it because we all saw what
Yeah.
happened straight
Yeah.
away. The only
Yeah.
person who didn't see it was the three refs, which was quite remarkable, given there's been a bit of a kind of a build up to it as well. Um, then he gets a ban, he gets a ban. But the processes by which this is done, they have to be clear.
Mm.
And they're not. There is nothing clear about it. And all the stuff that, as I say, I've said this many times, everybody wants to be a big league, want to be a kind of a big league. You want to be recognized as being a professional league. You want to recognize being a good league, all this stuff. You have to believe you are it.
Mm.
You have to be willing to communicate about it.
Mm.
And they're not. I'm afraid our league is, whether it's because understaffing, whether it's because of underfinancing, we have basically Andy Webb, who is, for those who don't know, is the chief operating officer. Any disciplinary stuff gets out pushed to a disciplinary committee. We have a chairman who appears to be a figurehead in relation to a more political figure than kind of a hands-on figure, if I can put it that way. Doesn't really have a basketball background. And we have no, and we're fine with churning out all of these feel-good, smiley videos that we watch at halftime on DAZN,
Mm.
right? But there is no thought of the actual drama of the games, or the narrative of the games, the narrative of Holden playing against his old team, and the narrative of Rideau doing this, narrative of that shot that Cheshire made against Sheffield. It's not there. It's almost like we're embarrassed about it, and we're not willing to fix it. And I think until you start to respect your own product, you can't be going around asking other people to respect it. And it's a big thing for me at the moment. I don't think with anything that's going on off the court, and I'll get to the final thing, of course, is the fact that you call yourself Super League basketball. That means you should have the best environment, the best gym, the best in the UK, the best environment, the best gym, the best players, the best commentators, and the best officials.
Mm.
And it's now 4 weeks, 5 weeks since FIBA basically binned the BBF, gave the blessing to the league, gave the blessing to Super League basketball to continue as before, effectively. And on Saturday night, from what I'm told, we have Chris Dodds, John Paul Harron, and Nick Nassi ref in the women's Super League basketball game in Newcastle,
Mm.
and no sign of any of them in the men's Super League.
Mm.
What's going on? Why is it that we can't? I'm not saying they're the best refs, but they are the most qualified refs,
Mm,
and we have to have the most qualified people in every area. Almost the whole thing needs an audit, from my perspective, to demonstrate to say properly that this is the product we are putting forward,
mm,
and that means everything has to be better. And I don't, and if it means you take away from another happy, clappy video at half time about somebody saying, some American who's just landed saying how these fans are the best in the world, I'll happily do without that happy, clappy video if that money then goes
I
into
think
actually
more than
running
one
the
thing
league the
can
way it's meant
exist.
to be run.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
Dan?
I think more than one thing can exist. I
I
think
think you're right.
we
Yeah,
can have the videos
yeah,
and we can
okay,
have
yeah, okay.
and we can have
It's not a zero-sum game. I get you,
no, yeah, 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 yeah,
but you get the point.
yeah,
The
yeah,
resource goes into that, this, that, and the other. But if somebody's been, if disciplinary proceedings have commenced, then we should know,
mm,
right? If and we're going to get into that obviously with the Cheshire stuff later on as well, with the Cheshire Leicester game as well. But I want to know where our referees are. I want to know where the most qualified referees in the country and why they're not involved because it's now 5 or 6 weeks. And but no, we're going to talk about the Bristol game in a second. And I don't know we've been sidetracked, so I apologise to Bristol for that. But the two games on Sunday were not refed in any way capably, as far as I was concerned,
mm,
and brought into absolute clarity the need for the administration of the league to basically get back to doing what it needs to do, which is putting the very best of everything on the court if it wants to be called Super League basketball.
mm.
Sorry. And moving on, unless you've got anything to add.
First stop for Dugalich. No, I think it's a valid point, and I mean, we talked about it. We talked on commentary about team lists being. We're going to get to it in the next game again. Did you? I didn't hear anything about Alan in Caledonia. I read the
No,
press release and I saw Drew Gordon had been released, but he might have been on the bench. I didn't see him.
no, I didn't think he was
I
on the
saw
bench.
Holland and Wright on the bench,
Yeah.
but again, it's that thing of it kind of. And look, I get I'm a commentator, so of course that sort of matters to me because you want to know which teams are we doing. Who am I preparing to see him? Who am I preparing not to see? But I get this, and you've been there. I'm sure you understand the subterfuge better than I do, but I just don't think it makes a difference if we get told that let's use this game. If we get told that Henry's not going to play because he's injured, the day in the morning, the day before or the morning of the game, here's the team that's playing tonight. Now, some teams do it on their socials half an hour beforehand, but it kind of drives me mad because obviously we do this, and I have to go, who played, who didn't play, who's injured, who's suspended, and I have to work it out. And literally earlier, before I messaged you to do this, I spent 5 minutes going, wait a minute, was Alan, did anybody say anything about Alan? I didn't see that. And I went back and I read the website because they don't appear to do Twitter anymore. But went back, read the website, and
Good
it
advice.
said that. And,
That's all
and
right.
well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't on Instagram either because I checked that. And I don't know. I don't know. Is he gone? I assume he's gone, but I don't know.
Last week
I
in the
haven't seen
NBA,
anything.
right?
Now maybe it's on Facebook and I'm not on Facebook and it's my fault for not being on Facebook. But
Should be on the website, should be on the league website. Last week in the NBA, Joel Embiid was stated as being out for a game the day before a
mm,
game,
yeah,
and then ended up playing in that game. I think he may have been upgraded very last minute to questionable, and then ended up
yeah,
playing. Sixers were fined $100,000.
yeah.
Right, that was, I mean, to them, it's like
Right.
finding the Eagles a five or whatever. But
Yeah,
the Sixers were fined $100,000 for that. Now, because there has to be an injury report, be it
yeah,
with different statuses, be it questionable, be it available, be it I can't remember the other words, use dubious, out,
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Probable, dubious, out, and then they tell you exactly what the injury is,
Mm,
right? Then you add in the transactions. Obviously, the transactions fuel the league, they fuel the interest in the league,
mm.
right? And it's done, again, it's done centrally. It's not done by, they don't have an option about this. It's clear if someone's being sent down to the G League, someone is announced as being sent down to the G League.
And,
It's what,
and again, going back to this game, the Holden thing. that, as you say, when whatever process started, it should have said, following an incident in this game, Cameron Holden has been referred to the disciplinary thing, like you do in football. I mean, it's obvious in football. You get a red card, and then, or you get 5 yellow cards, you miss a game, or whatever it
The
is.
rules are clear, and
The
everybody
rules
knows,
are clear, and everybody knows.
and it's
So,
the next game.
and then it will be, and then he's got 3 days to appeal, or whatever. I'm sure they didn't even bother with that, but it's that thing of, then we would know, actually, this process has started. It'll finish within X number of days, and then the punishment will be X number of days after that. So therefore, if he's suspended for one game, it will be Manchester. If he's suspended for more than one game, it'll be Manchester and whoever they play next. Blah
You
blah
know,
blah.
and the crazy thing, you mentioned the subterfuge and all that stuff. The longer I was on the bench, the more I became of the view that it was all irrelevant.
Mm,
That was all pointless.
yeah,
If you had a new player, generally it was a disaster.
yeah, yeah,
We always felt that if there's a team with a new player against us, we always felt we would beat them because didn't know the system. You know, there's one true tale I remember of us playing Leicester. It would have been 2013, 14 maybe. And they had 3 point guards that season, and they signed a guy called Mike Black, I think,
mm,
for maybe a month. And one of his first games was against us, and obviously the teams knew each other really well. It was at Sports Central. And kind of halfway through the third quarter, Leicester were running an out of bounds play, baseline out of bounds play. You know, and Fab had to tell him where to go. Literally, no, you go there and then you pop out. You know, it's like, you know, it was that type of thing because they don't know.
yeah, yeah,
You know, they don't know. And I mean, obviously, he might have told. I think basically he told me that, but that was what he told me afterwards. I, mean, I don't know if he
yeah.
was, whatever. But that's the level of it. So I became of the view that this kind of the subterfuge was just pointless. But more than that, you're right. I mean, the commentators, it's a news cycle. You have to build your news cycle.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
news cycle can't just be 7:30 on a Friday night, then a nice video a couple of weeks later, then another game.
Mm,
And this is every club. And the
mm,
problem is there's no rules that are put in place and there's no enforcement of it. And this is
yeah.
all governance of the league. So it comes down to that. It comes down to discipline. It comes down to referees. It comes down to everything.
Mm,
That to me is the most, I don't like using this phrase, but it is a game played by professionals, um, run to to a high standard. And these are some pretty good professionals in our league. As leagues go, this is not the bottom feeding league that people always said it was.
mm.
This is a mid-level European league, which is winning games in Europe at various different levels, right? But it's run amateurishly. It's run without the finances to do the things that need to be done on a centralized basis. And I was hopeful when
I'm not even sure that's the thing either. I think some of it is fixable without any issue.
I need the will.
Yeah, I mean, you make a rule, everybody agrees the rules. We can change the rules in the middle of the season. You make a rule that
Yeah,
says you have to put your team roster out uh, at 10 o'clock in the morning
yeah,
that day, and
yeah.
then you go, okay, here we go, and
And if you're not sure, Dan, you can say you're not sure. You can say game
questionable.
time. You can say game time decision.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I haven't got a problem with that, because then when I go and interview whoever coaches, I say, "Oh, such and such is a game time decision. Is he playing?"
Yeah,
Rather
absolutely.
than, half the time, I work out who's playing by warm-ups.
Yeah.
Go, oh, Kevin Allen's sitting on the bench there, not warming up. He's not playing. And then he put his kit
Now,
on, and I was like, "All right."
here's the thing, Dan.
This
Right?
was two
Even
weeks
now,
ago, 3 weeks ago.
even now, 5 years after I was coaching, right? I'll walk up into the corporate street at Newcastle,
Mm,
get my ticket. I'll go in. I've got my ticket. I'll go in. I'll have a quick look at what's on their menu.
mm,
What am I going to have with my chips tonight? And then I'll walk straight out of the corporate street,
mm.
45 minutes before the tip, straight to the balcony, see who's playing.
Who's doing rebounds?
Who's
He's not
playing?
playing.
Who's
He's not playing.
exactly?
He's standing under
Even
the
now,
basket rebounding.
that's 5 years on, right? That
Yeah,
is
yeah,
ingrained in me.
yeah, yeah,
That is
yeah,
ingrained in me
yeah.
because that's what you have to do. And you're right. It's utterly futile.
Mm,
It's def- it encourages chicanery. It encourages lack of trust.
yeah.
And as I say, this is the thing with, and this is the thing, I'm going to come to this with you. You know, you need to have a relatively uniform experience within all the venues in the league
Mm,
because there is one best way to do it. I don't care what people say, there is one best way. Now, they might not pick the best way, but they have to make a decision as to what the best way is and say, this is how we're going to do it.
yeah.
And, instead of having, volunteers doing things to save a few quid, the infrastructure needs to be improved around the games, around the administration of the league. And if that needs a little bit of money to make sure it's done properly, it will pay itself back in the thousands,
Mm,
in my view. Because you build a cycle, you build a new cycle, you build an interest. The message boards are basically dead now. I don't go on them, I hardly go on them anymore
mm,
because there is nothing day to day about it. There's nothing day to day about this league. The Facebook pages, and when the Eagles won, the fans sometimes complain because we don't know what's happened to this guy, Malcolm Smith. Where's he at the moment? Do we know? It's just, and I can understand it can be inconvenient, but it needs to be done, Dan.
mm, mm,
There needs to be absolute clarity on everything, and there needs to be team lists with status, international statuses of players on
mm,
each website. And when a player is released and a new player is signed or a player is deregistered, should be updated on the website within 24 hours.
mm,
By a centralized office. Everything should go through the centralized office. This is how you run a you run a league. And obviously, we've had a lot of problems with internal bickering, external bickering, the whole thing. Referee bickering. Everything's gone on. It all takes away from what you're meant to be putting on the court. And now there are no excuses because the license is sorted.
mm.
So sorted.
Yeah. We've deviated way off
We
path
have
there.
gone way off, but that's the
Uh,
point where you can just put rant on your little thing, can't you?
yeah. So I put Henry out, Holden suspended first stop for Duglic. That was
Absolutely. That was
that
half
took
an hour
about
ago.
15 minutes. Yeah. Adam Cassian Smith had Manchester out to an 11-4 lead after 3 minutes, and they actually made their first 5 3-point shots of the game. Manchester and led by 13 at 13:26.
Yeah, Manchester. Smith is a scoring bunches guy, and he's a bananas guy. He gets
Mm,
them in bunches. Just he makes one, you're worried because that first game he had at Surrey where he had 34 and he just kept
yeah.
making. So he got them going. Manchester again, they haven't played that many games. They played some European games. Still missing Irvin, which is still a big loss for them. And he's been gone like 4 or 6 weeks, and I think he just had a slight scratch at the beginning. So
Mm,
goodness knows what's wrong with him, because again, we don't get to find out. But he's a loss for them. Gives them some interior scoring and some kind of smart play and some leadership. It's interesting. Shelton, I'm slightly confused about
mm,
because they signed him and he doesn't seem to play.
no.
So maybe put some of that money into the disciplinary committee or the injury reporting committee instead. I don't know, you tell me.
Mm,
But he's not played. But Nicholson played quite a lot in this game, and
mm.
coach seems to be kind of warming to him because he started instead of
Osaboyan.
Osaboyan, sorry, Gabe, Osaboyan, um, which was interesting kind of tweak, because at the end of the day, Nicholson's a big guy,
Mm,
and and he's not entirely immobile.
mm,
He's not as immobile as some big guys who played in this league. So
mm,
he's not getting many touches offensively, but defensively with the right matchups, he can be effective and he can plug the middle in the screen and roll. Um, so you kind of like Manchester. I think Adil Cassie really helps him because he's a elite corner three shooter, and he gives them that kind of guy there when the three guards are going. If you forget about him, if you come off the corner, he's going to knock it down. But they play in spurts as well,
mm,
and so you can see that they don't not necessarily have a rhythm to them until probably Johnson comes in the game.
mm.
He gives them a little bit more rhythm when they play. Um, Bristol are just, solid, but they're playing lots of games. In this game, I think McCormack went off, didn't he?
Yeah, McCormack then made 4 threes in the first 5 minutes of the second quarter to level the scores at 33-33. Manchester then started the second half with a Cleary three and then 9 points from Jones. They went on a 12-2 run to lead 47-54, and they kind of stayed ahead from there. They did briefly get to one at the start of the fourth quarter, but then Cleary and Johnson both with 5 points each in a 13-3 run to make it 65-76, and that was that.
Yeah, I thought Bristol were a bit flat in this game. They do really, their guard play is really important. I mean, if
Yeah,
Joe Anderson is on it, then
he
they're a very
wasn't in
difficult
this
team to
game.
beat. You know,
That was my takeaway. Is like, if he's where he was in this game, they struggle a bit.
yeah. Brown, I mean, we've got some. What I will say is, there are some British guys. I think there's been an uptick in the kind of the British guys playing bench minutes in the league this year. If you're looking at Brown, is being really impressive for somebody coming on his first year. You look at Cleary,
Mm,
at Manchester, he was, can't have been far away from a GB call up, or whether he was called up or not. I don't know whether he's available or not. I don't know. And you add in Carey, has always been solid.
mm,
Adjukase and Henry as well. So there's um, and they're, whilst I hate the phrase, they are, other than Adjukase, I'm not sure where he's from, but the other guys have all came up through the system
mm,
in this country, before obviously playing in college in America. And even other clubs, you look at kind of the involvement of some, Boardman Raffy is better than the guy that Leicester had there last year playing at that spot. Candy at Newcastle and Canway are developing, whether they're going to get to where they're going to be. They're developing to being players who can be on the court. All the Scots, Jimenez had 23 yesterday in Caledonia, and these are guys who come up through the British system,
mm,
if I can put it that way. So there is a kind of a splash of positivity
mm,
for the league there, and I will have missed some out. So I'm
mm.
sorry about that. I will have missed some out as well. So I thought Brown helps them. He's a really good third guard in this league. Um,
Cholovinskas is an obvious
and
one.
Cholovinskas, of course. Well, sorry, I kind of missed Surrey because Surrey have got about
Yeah.
4 or 5 of them. So Surrey are a different category.
Mm,
They're actually putting the yard. The other guys have come in kind of a little bit more ready, if I
mm,
can put it that way, a little bit more developed. Cleary's been German Pro A, Henry was German Pro A, but the Surrey are taking the lumps
mm,
with those guys to make them better.
mm,
Cholovinskas last year paid off for them, and hopefully a couple of the guys will this year. So, and Ling's another one there as well. So, there isn't anybody who's just there is just in the league at the moment. It's just kind of a player who's there because he's always been there.
mm,
Landolfi, I'm missing out Landolfi. Landolfi comes in, if you leave him open, he's going to knock down a shot.
mm,
He's playing a role. So I think that's good for the league. I think it also means the league could easily knock down an American,
mm,
or tidy up the dual nationality, or tidy up the Irish regulation,
mm,
or whatever. That's for another day. Um, but yeah, you're still really dependent on the guys who are handling the ball a lot to make plays.
mm,
And Anderson struggled a little bit in this game. It wasn't one of his games. And Manchester have got a three-headed monster with Jones and Smith and Johnson.
mm,
And I think Johnson really kind of impresses me. Johnson, um, he just has a natural cadence of a point guard.
mm.
Without being quick, without being big, he just seems to understand what's going on and knows where he needs to be. And I thought he kind of closed the game for them. I might be
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah. It was him and Cleary both had 5 points in that run. I'm now starting to panic about 2 hours, by the way.
Oh shit.
We've had too many deviations off into things, and we haven't even got to,
The fun bit, yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
McCormack, 15 points, 5 of 6 field goals, 8 rebounds. Brown, 15. Joachim, 11. They were 5 of 14 from free throw line for
ouch.
35%, which is their worst ever free throw shooting in a home game. Cleary, 17 points. Adescassi, 16 points and 8 rebounds. Johnson, 15 points, 7 rebounds. They were 14 of 26 in the end from three. It feels like Bristol set some sort of record, positive or negative shooting every week at the minute.
Yeah, just a kind of a focus thing on them. I just didn't think they were ever quite locked into that game. I don't know. McCormack kind of got them going, but it was a bit sugar rushy. He made some shots and every pound's a chest, but they didn't have anything to kind of sustain that. And part of that might be Holden. Holden's not there. Holden's a guy
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
it creates a lot of offense for them when they're struggling. They can throw the ball in the post, you get something good out of them. So I think that probably did hurt them.
Let's come to Sunday then. Caledonia Gladiators. I've written down 79-76. It's the other way around, isn't it? 76-79 Newcastle Eagles. LJ Bryan in. Delpesh in. I saw on the website Drew Gordon has gone. We don't know about, I haven't seen anything about Allen. I've missed it if it's been out there. Holland and Wright were on the bench injured, presumably. Hammond was back for Newcastle, but still no Okafor Smith, Anthony Ward Hibbert. Even start to this game, but from 12 points apiece, Mitch Clark scored 7 in a row, followed by 7 in a row from Maceo Jack to give the Eagles a 12-26 lead.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things there. LJ Bryan does sound like a kind of a cop in an American cop show, doesn't he really? LJ Bryan, LJ Bryan, NYPD.
Yeah.
No, and he's another big guy come out of Czech Republic. First game, he's solid. I think he's
Mm,
solid. Haven't seen much more of him. He's not going to score the ball like Kevin Allen, but I would imagine he's probably not going to cause other issues that Kevin Allen may or may not have caused.
yeah.
Looking at the games that we watched, I don't. Hammond was playing for Newcastle. I don't think he's anything like fit. He kind of hobbled out on Wednesday of the game in the European game, and he's obviously doing what he could for the team. I think that was quite impressive actually that he came out and gave them some minutes. Um, I thought Caledonia, were offensively anemic in the first half, and Newcastle actually got a ton of good shots and just missed a ton of good shots.
Mm,
They were 1 of 14 from three at the halfway at half time, and they'd had a lot of open shots in transition. They hadn't finished. Um, and Caledonia really struggling because, without Holland as another kind of shot maker, they loaded a hell of a lot onto Kyle Jimenez, who basically took it all on his shoulders,
mm,
but there's a hell of a lot onto him.
mm,
And, other than guarding Ragsdale, which is not the easiest thing to do, and Candy did a reasonable job of actually. And again, Candy was the highest plus minus in this game again. Um, they really didn't have that much offense.
mm,
Now, as such, it kind of helped them when the referees gave them 3 points for a shot which had where the whistle had already blown. And I'm afraid that the refereeing in this game was perplexing at times and downright awful at other times.
mm,
But at nine, at 12-9, there was a possible shot clock reset, wrong reset. Malcolm Delpesh gets the ball, he throws it to Fraser Malcolm in the corner. Fraser Malcolm shoots it just as Fraser Malcolm is shooting it. The ref blows his whistle, puts his hand up because he thinks the shot clock's reset when it shouldn't have.
mm,
I don't know if it hit the rim or not, but the point being, the ref puts his hand up and blows the whistle.
mm,
Now he shouldn't have blown the whistle. He should have let the shot finish and then see what happened, and then blown the whistle, whatever. But in any event, he blew the whistle. Johnny Bunyan is very upset because Fraser Malcolm knocks down the three. Yeah. And quite rightly said, what are you stopping? What are you stopping? Why are you blowing your whistle there? And then the refs get together and decide that, oh, well, we'll just give you the three anyway.
mm,
Which of all the things you could have done was the one thing you couldn't do,
mm,
unfortunately, because once the whistle is blown, then the ball is dead.
mm,
I mean, I'm not, again, I'm not an official, well, I'm not a practicing official, but I'm still pretty sure that's right.
mm,
You can't, if the ball's on the rim after the whistle is blown, you can't knock it off. You can't kind of say, okay, we've blown the whistle, but we'll just ignore it as if we hadn't and give you the 3 points. So that was a process error. You then had a call in the second quarter where Canway ran down the lane and basically, I think Jimenez stood underneath him in the charge circle. Canway landed, put the ball in, and ref didn't really know what he'd called for about 2 seconds, then called a charge, which had Stuttle facing the crowd on one knee, like something out of a bad, kind of a bad statue impression. But then just to make things up, about 2 minutes later, Maceo Jack absolutely nailed Kyle Jimenez right in the stomach right in the chest as he was going to the rim, and he got an and one.
mm,
For what was an obvious charge, which we didn't see the camera, but we know that had Johnny Bunyan doing exactly the same thing,
mm,
and it didn't get any better from there. So I thought, the game wasn't great. It was the old two bold men fighting over the comb, and then the refs deciding that, no, we'll have that comb, please.
mm,
You're not getting a touch. And so Newcastle, yeah, they went out there. Maceo Jack was a different level of athleticism and different level of player on the court to anybody else. Mitch Clark, you know, continued to be impactful, and they do look better with him in the court. But he still ultimately comes down to whether he's going to be able to finish at the rim and finish and make it threes to a reasonable perspective. And then the game just kind of got a bit ugly in the third quarter, and then the fourth quarter, Newcastle had the normal we can't score the ball, and Caledonia slowly kind of came back into it.
yeah, yeah. So there was some Ragsdale and Malcolm threes to cut it to four at halftime. Eagles were back to double figures at the start of the second half, kept in front for much of the remainder of the game. Let's get to the Carl Jimenez show
Oh yeah.
at the end of the game. 2:10 to go. His floater makes it 67-71. Then and 134 to go, steps into an open three, and it's a 1 point game, 70-71. 120 to go. Jack driving through the lane puts Newcastle back up 3, 70-73. 110 to go. Ragsdale looking for a three. I think it was Hammond makes an incredible play to block the shot from the other side of the screen. It's the sort of play that I assumed must be a foul. It wasn't called a foul. You can't really see enough to believe to say that it was a foul, but
Was
it's
it not one where he kind of got the top of the ball, kind
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
from
But
behind?
he's
Yeah.
coming around. It was one of them where I couldn't see anything to make me think it was foul, other than how did he make that play?
I think
I think
with Hammond is a. I mean, I've seen him. He's a real unit athletically. You can see why he got picked up in the German BBL
mm,
because he can shoot the ball and he is athletically like an NBA body.
that was an incredible athletic
Yeah,
play to
he
block
really
that
is.
shot
And
because
when
he
he
was
came,
being screened and
yeah,
he's come over the screen to block the
and
shot.
he came in that game about 4 minutes to go with having been told to guard Ragsdale because he'd missed him once in the first quarter, and they did not switch properly with Defoe um, and he gave Ragsdale through, and he guarded the hell out of Ragsdale for those 4 or 5 minutes, but which meant that Jimenez went off effectively.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, well, yeah, but then Clark missed the layup, didn't he?
Yeah, then Eagles run it back and Clark doesn't
Has to
make the
make the
layup
layup.
with a minute to go.
Yeah.
So 51.4 seconds to go. Jimenez to the basket, drives to the basket, completely misses it. Foul is called. It's tipped in by Brian, and then it was initially given as an and one. And I'm obviously watching this last night, going, they didn't give that as an and one, did they? But it was eventually corrected to
I think they
two.
called the foul on the wrong guy as well. They called it on Defoe, and it was if anybody fouled him, I think it was Jack on the trail behind him. Because I watched it back and Defoe was nowhere near him. And whether it was a foul or not, I don't know. But
Mm.
yeah, but the fact that three of them didn't realise that that ball, which went probably about 6 feet away from the basket,
It was
it
nowhere near.
wasn't a little
It
tip.
was barely a shot.
It was barely a shot. I mean, you threw it at the back. The fact that the three of them, that somebody thought that that was basket good,
Mm.
that's just not being able to process stuff at the speed that you have to process stuff to
Yeah,
referee.
yeah, yeah.
Bottom line. And this is why we're not getting any goaltends called because none of the refs we've got at the moment are used to having players flying above the rim and taking things off the backboard.
Mm,
And that's because it's a processing thing. I'm not angry with them, I'm not upset with them. It's just what it is.
mm.
Just not sharp enough to process everything at the same time and make the right calls.
So he goes 1 for 2, Jimenez from the line, 71-73. 37 seconds to go. A hand check foul on Benley, which is his fourth. Jack goes to the line. Makes both this time.
Yeah,
Don't know
well,
if
to
he's
be
getting
fair,
flashbacks.
Jack was the one guy in the fourth quarter. Both
Yeah,
games he stepped up for Newcastle because
yeah,
nobody
yeah.
wanted to finish the game.
So it's 71-75. 26 and a half seconds to go. Jimenez fouled on a three. It's probably a kick out.
It's not
Uh,
a foul. I'm sorry,
it's
that's an awful
probably an
foul.
offensive
He was
foul.
trying to do the splits when he shot that
Yeah,
ball.
yeah,
I mean, at this point, it's just, yeah, you have to know what you're watching for. I'm afraid, yeah, Kyle Jimenez did exactly the right thing.
yeah, yeah,
Mitch
yeah,
Clark ran past him, and Kyle
yeah,
Jimenez
yeah,
kicked
yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah.
And it wasn't a natural kind of running, it wasn't a natural kind of landing space. It was just a bad call. And I don't want to get the impression that Eagles got all the bad calls in this game because they didn't, because Caledonia got a few as well. But I haven't had the energy to go back through all of them and list them.
74-75. We makes all three free throws. Caledonia got caught sleeping though on the
Yeah,
inbound. I don't know if they
disaster.
were trying to make a foul or whatever, but Hammond down court for an open layup, and then to compound the error, Brian runs at him, fouls him,
Yeah,
and
that
it's an
was
and
horse
one.
like foul time.
Yeah.
I thought that
Well,
was I thought it went nowhere near the ball. I thought it was a
yeah,
deliberate attempt to foul a player who was off the ground making a layup.
yeah.
I thought if it was any different time in the game, again, maybe with more experienced refs, I thought it would have been sportsmanlike foul. Maybe I'm biased on that one, but I just didn't think there was
I
any.
was I was too busy processing what a dumb foul it was to
Well,
to
it
actually.
was horrendous play from Caledonia. It was
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
it was kind of a team that's not played with each other. Got a few new players. A team that's not used to winning. You can't let Dion Hammond just go and walk down the court on his own. Which is what they did. Off a foul shot.
Yeah.
I mean, off a made foul shot.
Off a made foul shot as
Just
well.
like
Yeah,
that,
it
we talk about
was.
rest, but I'm talking about
Yeah,
players as well.
yeah, yeah.
That's Caledonia saying we'll have the comb back, please.
So Malcolm then misses a three, long rebounds it. He gets fouled. Uh, makes He gets fouled, and at that point, I wrote down, and that was it,
No,
as he
I
made
thought
one of two free throws, 74-75,
but
because I didn't think anything else could come. However, I then deleted
yeah,
that on the next play because 6.7 seconds to go. Again, Jimenez trying to draw a foul, and Long obliges. I had less sympathy for the defender
yeah.
on this one, because what are you doing there running at him? There's no good
No, I agree
could
with
come
that.
from
I
that.
agree with that. I wasn't particularly.
His legs are all sort of wonky, and he's sort of sideways on. He's
Yeah,
clearly trying to draw a foul,
I
but
think it was
just
a
don't
landing
run at
space.
him.
I think it was a landing space.
Yeah,
Felt
yeah,
Long gave him the opportunity.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree with
yeah,
that. So I'm not really uptight. I mean, Newcastle got away with one because the Malcolm three was far too open for a
yeah,
situation. I mean, who
yeah,
else can score? At
yeah.
that. So they got away with him missing that, and that should have been the game. But yeah, I mean, Cole Long can't. Cole Long, to be fair, he played like 30 minutes on Wednesday, 37 minutes on
Yeah,
Friday,
yeah.
30 something minutes on Sunday. I'm not going to be too critical of him, but he gave the ref a call to make. And
It also wasn't the
yeah,
worst decision in the last 6.7 seconds of the game
yeah.
either. Jimenez continues to score points in the last 2 minutes. He makes the first two, throws it off the rim on the
Great
third
play.
one. Great play. I couldn't quite work out if he went across the line, and because it wasn't on synergy. It's hard to keep
Oh
basically.
yeah, they missed it. They missed a foul, an obvious one on Toto earlier on. He was halfway. He was halfway to the rim before the ball went in on his foul shot.
But
But
it was close enough that I couldn't be bothered
yeah, yeah.
to care. And the ball, then he knocks it loose. It ricochets to Spielman, who inexplicably shoots.
Be-
Kick it
be-
out. You're down three. What are you doing?
and there's a turnaround 10-footer.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Just again, brain fade. It's hard.
Mm,
You're losing, but you've got to know the situation, time, score situation.
mm.
And he's one of the.
Because
He's
even if it goes in, there's what, 3.5 seconds left. You've got to foul them.
yeah.
They've got to. You've got to come
I
back. You've
mean, the
got no
reason
timeouts
well,
left,
if that
is
was the
there?
plan, then Jimenez would have made the shot.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Exactly.
You
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
you don't shoot, you don't go for a rebound off a missed foul shot in order to shoot a two, do you?
No.
I mean, it's just yeah, just bad execution,
Mm,
and that's how there's sometimes difference between winning and losing.
mm. Jimenez, 39 minutes and 36 seconds. I haven't looked it up. I'm guessing that's his most minutes of his top flight
Mhm.
career. I'm guessing it's probably the most by anybody this season as well. I haven't looked it up.
Overtime games, maybe.
Maybe. 7 minutes, 7 minutes, 7 of 11 shooting, 23.6 assists. Ragsdale, 19 points, but he was 6 of 20 shooting. Malcolm, 5 of 7
Yeah,
for 14 points. Jack, 13 of 15 from the free throw line for 26 points and 12 rebounds. Taylor, 16 points and 6 assists. Long, 12 points. No second chance points for Newcastle. I didn't have a chance to look that up, but it feels unusual.
yeah, because they did rebound the ball reasonably well, but they missed a ton of shots in the first half. In the fourth quarter, basically it's Maceo Jacko bust.
Mm,
So yeah, I mean I wouldn't necessarily trust that. There's normally one where they get a rebound and it's recycled about four
mm.
passes. But I don't remember offensive rebounds or tip-ins or anything like that.
But I think that thing is like an automatic, like the stats people don't put that
Right.
in. The
Okay.
system automatically puts it in, I think. Pretty sure.
Oh, I might even know. I can't be bothered to go and look. Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Final game. Cheshire Phoenix 88, Leicester Riders 89. Robinson
I
was
will just stop there. Nothing happened.
Yeah, nothing happened. Robinson was back for Cheshire, and Dooku still out for Leicester. Loving into the starters now. I think we'll spend enough time on the end. Let's try and skip through the early bits.
Yeah.
Tight game, really. Cheshire short on all their threes early on, but once the first one went in, they made three to lead by 6. Battle hit some ridiculous shots
Yeah.
as well for Leicester. They were momentarily up 10. A 3-point game at halftime. There was 7 points up Leicester with 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, and then Robinson scored the first nine of 15 unanswered points uh, to lead by 72-68, I think it was. That
Yeah.
doesn't quite sound right. But then on a zone of three, and then zone hit another three, they ended up leading by nine. Do you want to do the? We'll go through the last couple of
Yeah,
minutes, but do you want to
absolutely.
do the?
Yeah, basically, obviously, Leicester changed the starting lineup. Avey came off the bench, so the kind of went with Carey as the primary point guard, and then everybody else, and Avey's kind of the backup point guard, which was interesting. They had Martin back. He struggled at times to guard White, because it's very difficult to have a five guarding White at times. Um, and Cheshire did get some shots, but Leicester's defense I thought was pretty good, actually. They're quite physical. They're quite a big unit because Carey's probably 6'3" with long arms. Battle's probably 6'4", 6'5". Johnson 6'3". So, physically, and Loving 6'8", and Martin 6'9". And so they do take up a lot of space. And I thought, they defended pretty well throughout the game without fouling. And they didn't give Cheshire as many open threes as you've seen other teams give up to Cheshire in that gym,
Mm,
which meant that the game was always being played on something of a knife edge, a knife
mm,
edge of physicality all the time, because I say Leicester's defense was quite physical as well. Um, Cheshire kind of do what they do and cycle through their players to see who are the hot hand, and they got a game out of White. White and Zona were really effective as stretch fives because Leicester are quite conservative defensively, so it. They don't really want to sell out to those guys on the 3-point line as much, and they've got four bigs guarding them. Um, End of the third quarter, Rob decided it wasn't game for Menzies, so he went to Suleiman at the five to give the centre, I've forgotten his name, Nate Martin, to give him a break,
mm,
which was an interesting kind of little tweak. And then the interesting tweak for Cheshire was that they went with Lindo instead of Robinson at the end
mm.
because Robinson was on the bench, and I'm not sure if he, as you say, he was impactful around the third quarter break.
It's
Um,
obviously he's missed a game on Thursday, so it might be
Yeah,
that he
but
doesn't.
you play. I'm surprised he wasn't playing in the game. He wasn't in the game with Rideau at the end.
Mm,
Maybe that was a defensive thing in relation to size. I don't. Maybe it was physical. Who knows? And there was an undercurrent in the game, obviously, because even at half time on the cameras we saw kind of
mm,
Robinson and Suleiman going at it,
mm,
and there was just a kind of as I say, a real competitive undercurrent
mm,
in the game, as there is generally with games at Cheshire.
mm. It was still a 7 point lead with 2:27 to go, 86-79. Lindo fouls Carey in the corner for three. So he made all three free throws to make it
Bad foul.
86. Hey,
Bad foul.
yeah, yeah. 86-82. White's layup then somehow comes out. Looked like he was going to score and didn't. Leicester run back the other way, and Martin, they lost him a couple of times down the middle, and he just got an open dunk to make it two
Kerry, I
one game.
mean, basically, Cheshire were what we call icing the screen and roll, which basically means that if there was a wing screen and roll with the ball handler on the wing and the centre setting the pick from the middle, um, Cheshire were forcing it down the baseline and letting the centre's man, Martin's man, be it White, kind of cut off the basket, which gives them what's called the pocket pass, which is the pass between the two defenders to the cutting guy down the middle.
Mm,
And White is meant to be the one who kind of takes away both of those things at the same time. Connor used to do it quite well against us, and Carey's quite good at hitting roll men.
mm,
Having watched the game, if you watch Carey playing, he generally, it's the old pros trick really, because you know that if you throw it to the guy under the basket, you're going to get an assist,
mm,
right? The Trey Moore trick, we call it, So you don't want to throw it to some guy who may or may not make a three.
mm,
But I say that's a bit cynical because what he's really because he has the advantage of being quite tall, quite a high dribble, so quite a high handle, which means that he's able to throw the ball over the screen roll, over the screen guy, and hit the target. And a couple of times in this game, he was able to hit Martin, who is a solid kind of free throw line guy. He's going to run from the free throw line to the free throw line, catch the ball, and finish. And a couple of times, even Martin, when he caught the ball in that role, was able to kick out to the corners as well. So it's a nice little weapon they have in relation to Carey's passing off the kind of the wing screen and roll, slightly different off the top. And Martin got a dunk off that one, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, he right down the middle, dunked it.
Yeah.
So it's 2 point game with 2 minutes to go. Diggins had a good look at a three, missed. Carey had a slightly more difficult look at a three, and that missed as well. Minute to go in the paint. Lindo draws the foul and one, 88-84. He then misses the free throw, though. And with 45.9 seconds to go, Rideau fouls Martin. That was his fifth foul. Martin's on the floor, and obviously Rideau is above him. So he's not happy. There's a little something. Then Battle comes running in. Then there's everyone gets involved. Eventually, there's a big discussion, and there's the initial signal was obviously Rideau committed the initial foul. That's his fifth personal foul. There's then a double unsportsmanlike called against Rideau and Battle for joining in. And now, obviously, then Rideau has already fouled out of the game, so you can't call an unsportsmanlike on somebody who's already fouled out of the game. So there's some big discussion about what it is. It ends up going on as a coach technical, and I had a sort of confusion as to, well, a coach technical isn't equal to
Sportsman.
a unsportsmanlike foul, so therefore they don't offset each other.
No.
I have had an email, somebody trying to explain it to me, which I was thinking about reading out, but I'm not sure it makes sense if you read it out loud. But in essence, it was the unsportsmanlike becomes a disqualification foul, something or other, and goes down as a bench technical, but he has to leave the game, and therefore they do equate each other out. And then obviously, Battle's unsportsmanlike is his fifth foul, and he's already got a technical, by the way, so he's then disqualified from the game. And that the explanation that I got, which I won't read out, kind of made sense to what the process was because both of them went off to the locker room. But then there was confusion as to shooting free throws, and I must admit I'd forgotten who was fouled even before it all. But Martin went to the free throw line. Somebody was then complaining. I don't know who was complaining that it was. I think the referee said it wasn't him, and they were going to make Bourman Rafe, who was obviously the substitute coming in for Battle, shoot the free throws. But the free throws were for the foul, not for any of the other stuff, which wiped itself out. And then after some discussion, they've then put Martin because then when they went to put Bournemouth Rafe, Ben was complaining because obviously
Yeah.
Martin's not a great free throw shooter, so he'd much rather him than Bournemouth Rafe shooting free throws. And then eventually they put him back to the line, and he goes 1 for 2, and it's a 3 point game.
Yeah. Right, it's two things. Firstly, Rideau had already had a technical as well, of course.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Um, and Battle was ticking at that point because Battle had just got a call he thought was a harsh call against Lindo when Lindo made the shot, and Battle was, giving it the double teapot and not very happy. And I think you guys picked it up. I initially didn't think it was a foul, but when you watch it back, you see he does have his hand on his side, which is always going to get called. So Battle was ticking at that point. And obviously there's been the normal kind of stuff with Rideau is a player that everybody is kind of drawn to. Opposition players are drawn to as well. And I actually thought this was kind of the bite they're getting bit a little bit because I thought, for all you've just explained about the processes, I don't think the refs got it right from what I could see on the television at all in relation to actually what happened. Um, Rideau came across and made a play on the ball on Martin. You couldn't see, he kind of went around him and kind of put his hand on the back of the ball. Um, it was a type of play that Rideau often makes. Sometimes they're called as fouls, sometimes they're not. You couldn't see on the TV close enough to know whether it was a good call or not. But Martin ends up on the ground and Rideau ends up standing close to him. And you see it's a really good close up on the camera because you actually see right on the close up. From my perspective, Rideau, Martin tries to get up, but Rideau just doesn't move. And it's not like the last time where he gave Dirk a sneaky little one.
Mm.
It's in the Sheffield game. I don't see Rideau moving. And I think this was a reputation thing. And he doesn't have to move, obviously. I mean, it wouldn't have been a bad idea if he had, but that's not, he doesn't take a backward step. We know that. So he didn't move. So Martin kind of tried to get up, but, kind of looked up like that, as if like, what you doing, man? Which then, but by that point, Battle, who's ticking from the previous play, he comes straight in. Now he's the third man in. He's the instigator in this, and he I'm not sure if he put his hands on Rideau. I'm not sure if he did or not, to be honest, but he's certainly pointing at him and kind of he's the one being aggressive with him. Now, unless there is something off screen, I don't see then what Rideau did because what I see, Rideau just walks off.
Mm,
He certainly did nothing to warrant an unsportsmanlike
mm,
foul, because there's no physical contact that I could see with him. You actually do see him walking off on the camera. If there's language between them, if there's pointing, and certainly, there may be a little bit of pointing, then yeah, it could potentially be a double technical,
mm.
at that point, because you said it best on the commentary. Let's just get on with it because that's what
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
right? I mean, I did not see anything in there which was an unsportsmanlike foul,
No.
not at all. So how they got to that, and certainly not in relation to Rideau. As I say, if anything, Leicester were kind of a little bit for, I think if you watch that back, I think you'd end up with a technical on Battle and probably not much else.
Mm,
Battle being the third man in. Rideau was obviously fouled out anyway, so it would have been two shots that way, one shot the other way. Um, but I thought, Rideau was a victim of his reputation on that one,
mhm,
to be honest, on what I saw. Or I say there may have been other stuff there. And then I thought the whole saga as to whether it was a bench technical or on sports night um, could have been pushed to one side because I just did not see an unsportsmanlike foul from anyone.
mm,
An unsportsmanlike foul having been told this last year by multiple referees, it requires contact.
mm,
Otherwise, it's a technical foul, and I didn't see it. So yeah, I thought Leicester kind of caught a break. I thought maybe Cheshire could have got one more foul shot out of that. But ultimately, what you said was best, which was just let's just play on.
just play on.
Get
Yeah,
two shots
it's
and play on,
called a
man.
foul. That's,
Yeah, whatever.
then we wouldn't have got confused as to who was shooting what
I'm
or
not
whatever.
quite sure. Also, I'm not quite sure on what basis Rideau was made to leave.
So because well he had an unsportsmanlike and a technical. So if you were doing that, it was it
Right,
was
well, no, but they waived did they call an unsportsmanlike, really? Did they
so
not wait?
that was the initial thing, and
It was a
then
coach technical. That was changed to a coach technical, wasn't it?
because it has to be for the book. So the suggestion was it could be because he's excluded, he's fouled out of the game. So
Yeah.
therefore, the unsportsmanlike becomes a disqualifying foul, and therefore goes down as a bench technical, which is one of the suggestions. This is why I didn't want to read all of this.
Yeah, if it's a bench
Yeah,
technical, then if it's a
in that case, it's
disqualifying
two
foul,
shots.
two
Is
shots, two more
yeah,
shots.
yeah, yeah. But
So
then the other one was an unsportsmanlike, so that's two
that'll be two
shots. So
shots in the
therefore,
ball as well.
yeah. So there you go.
I'm not
They're
sure
offsetting
about.
each
I'm
other.
not sure
Uh,
about. I mean, he
as I
didn't leave the
say,
bench. He didn't leave the bench.
he did. Oh, sorry. You mean he didn't leave the bench?
He's
No,
on the court.
but he's
Hi.
disqualified. But he's fouled out of the game. And
You can't be
I know
done
what you
for not
mean.
leaving. You
I know
can't
what
be
you mean.
done for not leaving
Yeah,
the bench when you're on the court.
yeah,
Can
yeah.
never get to the bench.
I didn't really understand it.
No, no,
I don't feel like we needed anything other than two free throws for Leicester.
yeah, absolutely.
So I was eventually happy that we carried on
Yeah,
from where it was because that
yeah,
seemed like
absolutely.
the most sensible out. I'd rather nobody had got any more fouls, but
Yeah,
it is what it is. So he's made one or two free throws. It's 88-85. Robinson then drives to the basket, loses his feet, turns it over. Leicester break away, and Johnson hits a three to tie the game with 13 seconds to
yeah.
go.
And obviously, Robinson's just come in the game cold because
Mm,
Rideau's just fouled out.
mm,
So he's gone straight. So he's not in the rhythm of the game at all. And Loving defended really well in this game at times, without fouling. And Leicester, I think, he only gave up 6 foul shots to Cheshire.
mm,
It's not a coincidence because Leicester are the best team at not fouling in the league.
mm,
So these patterns all show themselves over individual games and over the series of games. But yeah, I mean, there are times when Robinson seeks the contact, and the refs have to be pretty um, sure of illegal contact to call a foul, and he didn't get the call.
mm,
And then Cheshire did not get back in transition. They were up three. They didn't get because that's the problem with when you space the court with two guys in the corner.
mm,
You turn the ball over under the rim, it's very difficult to get back in transition
mm,
to guard everybody. So Skyler had two guys, and then Spencer Johnson kind of spotted up on the wing, and Leicester, to be fair, made the right pass, I think. Carey maybe made the right pass to Johnson to get him a wide open three, and he knocked it down.
Mm. So Cheshire called a timeout, advanced the ball. Leicester still had two fouls to give at that point, so they gave them both. And then there's 6.4 seconds left, and Ben Thomas decides to use his last time out because obviously the play's been blown up twice by fouls. So inbound the ball, Carey steals it away from Diggins. And then he's fouled. I didn't. I just saw him running towards me with the ball in his hands. I didn't hear the whistle, but I saw the fist in the background. There was a foul called. They ended up putting 1.5 seconds on the clock, and then Carey makes the second free throw. They've obviously got no timeout left, so Robinson he's from inside his own half. But unpick all of that for us, Dave. I think I know what you're going to
Yeah.
say.
Well, a couple of things really. I mean, firstly, um, the play that Cheshire ran was the same kind of setup that they ran to get Rideau the shot against Sheffield,
Yeah,
which is basically the guy who's going to get the basketball takes it out
yeah,
and throws it in. And then it's meant to be a handoff back to him to attack. So he's kind of got a running start or
mm,
whatever. The problem was, and I understand why coaches do that. And it's not just Ben, lots of coaches run that stuff. I never really liked it because there's too many things can go wrong before the ball
mm,
gets in the hands of the guy you wanted in. And this was an example of that. But the bigger problem was Rideau's right-handed and Robinson's left-handed.
mm,
So Robinson, when he threw the ball, he couldn't get the ball in initially at the top to get the hand off, which would have led to him coming to his right. So he had to throw the ball into the low man, Diggins. When that means that the Diggins is down to his side. So Robinson is then, instead of cutting away from him, he's cutting towards him to try and get the handoff going downhill to his left, but that's on the wing instead of in the middle. So there's a confusion with the handoff because they're too close together, and Robinson's going straight into a space where there are other guys. So Robinson doesn't get the basketball. Diggins brings the ball back up to the top, no doubt to reverse it. Carey, who's guarding the inbounds pass, he switches on. That's not in the general term of switch. He switches onto the ball. It's a
mm,
bog standard switch that teams do when people run down screens on the wing and handoffs on the wing. The defenders don't chase them. They then just switch onto the guy coming up. So he switched on the ball. So he is right there. He's blocking Diggins coming further back up. Now, what the ref doesn't see, what the cameras do show, unfortunately, is that at that point, Diggins has the ball in his hands, and then the ball is dislodged. But I didn't see it the first time. It didn't look right because the ball wasn't knocked out of his hands. He just kind of lost it. That doesn't normally happen. And what you see on the switch, if you go back onto relatively slow motion, but basically you can see it, is that as he switches, Carey puts both hands on Diggins, kind of on the hip, as he's coming towards him, and one of his hands gets locked up with Diggins's hands with the ball as big as the ball is coming that way, and I think it's a foul.
mm.
I just genuinely think it's a foul. I think the ref missed it. And this is not to gain me points with the Cheshire fans who hate me after last time. It's not. It's just calling it as I see it.
Yeah,
I think Leicester got away with it. I'm not going to say it was a brutal missed call because
yeah.
it was a tough one.
It's funny because you text me last night that you said you thought it was a foul on that play. So I watched it back to see that, and I was expecting it to be more clear cut than
Yeah.
given your text message than it appeared. My thing is it was probably in the physicality of the game. I
Yeah, I mean,
think the
right.
way that game had been played, I don't think it was outside of the realms of stuff that hadn't been called earlier. But is it enough for a foul? Quite possibly.
Yeah. Maybe, but yeah, look, that's play of the game. You say they got the call against Sheffield, they didn't get the call against Leicester.
Yeah,
Well, that's what happens when the basketball has a way.
yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
you're never going to get all of them. So I thought Leicester kind of caught a break, but anyway, and then it was obviously a foul. Diggins was dumb in fouling him
Mm,
in riding his foul. You can't foul at that point. You just got to get back as fast as you can.
yeah,
Can't put him on the line because that was the mistake that he made. But all that comes because the wrong guy's got the ball facing the wrong direction.
yeah.
And my motto, and again, as I say, it's not the only way, and it's not. A lot of coaches do it nowadays. Obviously, we had the whole Bristol saga 3 years ago about getting the ball in bounces. If you've been a point guard all your life, you know how to get the basketball.
Mm.
Your job is to get the basketball.
Mm.
You don't need to run off three screens to get the basketball. Just get the goddamn basketball
Yeah,
inbound,
yeah,
make a
yeah,
play. And,
yeah,
because if you think about it, when we talk about turnovers, right, in relation to inbounds plays, and we've seen a lot of them over the past 5 years we've been
yeah,
doing,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
they all come getting the ball inbounds.
yeah, yeah,
They
yeah,
don't come after the guy's got the basketball.
yeah,
It's all about the first pass. So get your point, and the easiest person to get the basketball to is the quickest guy.
yeah,
To get space, to get separation, to dip his shoulder in, whatever. It's his job. He's paid for that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Call it, I call, it's again everything in the it's a the BBL basketball universe. Everything comes, in my perspective, everything comes back to Trey Moore.
Mm.
Give me the ball. Get out of the fucking way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Give me the ball. I got give the ball. I got the ball. Whatever. You won't be running three off three screens to get a basketball. Just on the ball,
Mm.
and then you live or die. And so I thought that was so you ended up with Diggins going the wrong way into a guard who switched, and then compounding his mistake by riding him all the way up as he went down there and committing the foul, which ultimately cost them the game.
Mm.
So yeah, it was yeah, it was what it was. And Carey knocked down the second one, didn't he?
He made the second one, and then Robinson heaved from inside his own half, but it
Anything else happen?
wasn't really close. I don't know actually. No, let's get to the nonsense at the end. So my first caveat, and I should have said this previously because we've been going through these plays, is we lost pitches on our monitor about 3 or 4 minutes
Right. Okay.
from the end. So anything that you saw, we didn't see.
All right. I get you.
So that's my first caveat. The second one is when I get back from Cheshire at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and I've got to watch the second half of Caledonia, and I've got to rewatch the last couple of minutes of this to get timings and see what calls were made because we had no pictures, so I didn't see the replays in real time, and I had to work out. I could do without having to watch
It's
this
nonsense.
nonsense as well. But my main takeaway from what happened after the buzzer is what do we have the handshake line for? Like
Well,
nobody wants the handshake line. It's some sort of weird show. If your boy plays for the other team, go dap him up. I haven't got a problem with that, but I don't understand why everybody from the head coach to the S&C guy needs to dap each other up. To me, it's a flashpoint waiting to happen, especially in a game like this where it's decided at the death and there's been a couple of contentious calls
agree.
where at the end where people rightly or wrongly feel like they've both teams rightly or wrongly feel like they were hard done to, and then when it kicks off you've got fans thinking their side is right and the other side the opponents are wrong, so then everybody in the building gets up and then it ratchets up with people booing and shouting. And let's be fair, the security in SLB venues is not tremendous. And
Well,
we
I
had
think the
that
word is
incident.
existent, Dan.
Well, we had that incident in Manchester a couple of years ago involving spectators. Different league, same venue. I don't think anything has changed.
No.
Same venues, I should say. Obviously, it was in Manchester. I don't think anything has changed.
Well,
Not
here's the thing,
noticeably.
right?
Maybe they've changed a process or a protocol or whatever, but there's uh, nothing visually has changed. And don't get me wrong, I don't think I've got all my gifts from the Cheshire fans here. I don't think the Cheshire fans would get involved like that, but it's not really the point. If their players had just turned and applauded their fans, and Leicester players had gone and applauded their fans, and then everybody goes to the locker room, none of this happens. And
Yeah.
I
Well,
look, I know you've been in the handshake line, Dave. I only sit relatively close to them, but not every week, on a very regular basis, there's words exchanged. It doesn't always get to this, but there's words exchanged, and I just don't understand what the upside of it is. We're just waiting for somebody to be affronted, and something kicks off, and then what? And then what? And now these two teams don't play again, I think, till March. But what if this had happened in the first game where there was only 10 days between it? Then you get something in the next game. And it's a whole lot of something for what? What's the point of the handshake line?
about an hour and a half ago when we talked about the NBA and the standards.
Yeah, yeah.
In the NBA, coaches wave at each other.
Okay.
They walk that way.
Yeah,
They walk that way. They
yeah,
give each other a wave. If they know each other, or if it's the end of a series,
yeah, yeah,
they'll shake hands at the end of a 7 game. But during the regular season, they don't do it.
yeah.
We know better. Everything that
Yeah.
the NBA has sorted out, has realized was a problem, doesn't
Mm,
happen anymore. We know better, right? Now, I'm entirely with you on that. My involvement in the handshake line was basically to be the first one up, straight across and back to the locker room. I was done.
mm,
I've never said anything to anybody, I don't think, ever. Um, I mean, maybe had a nice word with somebody I was going to sign next year. That
mm,
was about it, But literally, it was a ritual,
mm,
just a ritual, nothing more. It served no purpose whatsoever, as far as I was concerned. So I'm entirely in agreement with you on that. I'm also of the view, that the refs shouldn't hang around.
mm.
Yeah, they do hang around. They stand there, so everyone can come and circle them, and I don't think they should hang around either.
Yeah.
Ultimately not there to be. You know, this isn't all about being, but this is professional sport.
Mm,
Refs off you go. If the coach wants, if you want players want to see it and see in the back, it doesn't all have to be done in a show,
mm.
right? So I think that what you say about the whole thing is absolutely right. What I will say is, it's always the potential for a little bit of unintentional entertainment.
There is that. There is
So
that.
it's not
There
to,
is
and
that.
unfortunately, can I ask your directors to start taking the wide cut on the
Yeah.
handshake so I can see everything?
Yeah. Yeah.
But seriously, and then on top of that, it's aggravated in this game by the fact that, and it is aggravated because Ben stands at the back.
Yeah.
Because if the coaches meet each other in front of the table at the beginning, it's a quick handshake, and no
Yeah.
one's going to do anything.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's going to be the head coaches. If anything's going to cause a problem, it's going to be the head coaches.
Yeah.
Right? Reality. If the head coach shakes hands, everybody else is going to do the same. So that means that there's kind of a run up before you get to them,
Yeah.
and that also means that what happens takes place almost behind the bench
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of being on the front of the court at the table. And obviously, we had that. I know we're running out of time. We had that with Sabonis and all that stuff. In relation,
Yeah.
exactly what happens in relation to apportioning blame. All I know from the cameras is that Rob wasn't happy with something, and he was pointing at somebody who was out of shot. Then he got in, so I don't know what was being said out of shot, which led him to be like that. I don't
Mm,
know. He ends up face to face with one of the Cheshire assistants. Then Ben comes in and pushes him kind of two hands softly backwards, and then one of the security guys or whoever it was kind of stepped in and forced him away. I'm not going to judge the rights and wrongs of that because emotions are high.
mm.
I don't. What I will say is, as you say, it's not a good look.
No.
It's just not. It's not a good look for anybody. It's not a good look, and it looks again. And unfortunately, we've talked previously about. I got some stick for saying, the Cheshire's environment. It's kind of a zoo. Everybody's loud. Everybody's in there. There's a lot of chaos going on. That's what they feed off. That's their home court advantage. But it all comes down to all the stuff we were talking about earlier,
Mm,
which is organization around the league, and to understand that these things can happen and there's a way of preventing them. We need far more prevention and far less cure.
mm,
You've just put it forward. Why are we doing all this nonsense?
mm,
Why is, as you say, why is, the 6-year-old ball boy on the end of the bench, dapping up everybody? It's,
mm.
and it just gives a chance for people to kind of settle old scores or settle scores from the game. And
Yeah. Because the other
so
thing about it is, okay, maybe not in this situation, but in like a I don't know, a semi-final game you've won on the buzzer or whatever, the coach wants to go off and celebrate. The players want to sell. You want to see the celebs. I don't think you want to see a handshake line. I just don't. Just
No, I mean, when we won and lost finals, I always made a point of, I always thought in finals, you win, if you win, obviously, if you win a last second thing or you win one that really matters, you have your 20 seconds. But I always thought, at the end of a final or at the end of something like that, then I think it's the appropriate thing to do. I think because both teams have got to the final and ultimately, that's it. And there should be a degree of, of respect there, and it should be demonstrated. But in league, and this is the difference with the playoffs. In the NBA, in the playoffs, the end of the playoff series, everybody cuddles and handshakes and whatever. And there's a lot. After the first game, no one's doing that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
This is a league game. It doesn't need to happen. Um, but yeah, and everything, there's another thing we mentioned, security needs to be established. No-go areas need to be established. And I appreciate it's not the easiest thing in the venues, etc., because the venues are so close to the court, and that's an advantage of our league. But the fact that it's an advantage, it could also spill over to being a disadvantage very quickly if things are not properly monitored.
mm,
That's the reality of it. And again, There should be announcements and they should be creating a narrative as to what happened. They should be
mm,
settling it down. But ultimately, you can't be afraid. All publicity is kind of good publicity.
mm.
And and whilst you want to avoid flashpoint, I like it that people care enough and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and that there is a level of genuine, competition there and genuine spirit there.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a better way of expressing it.
yeah.
And I don't think it's good that, coaches are laying hands on each other or coaches are getting in each other's faces. Absolutely not.
Mm.
Um, because, but as I said, that could have happened in the corridor outside. No one would have known.
No, no.
And, then you leave it and you do whatever. So, I just, and again, I didn't know where the refs were there either. The refs, it's all right, the refs standing there and just kind of watching it all happen, but it's not great.
Mm,
Wasn't great.
no. I think we're very close to 2 hours
Yeah,
now.
I think we
So,
should.
White, 20 points and 7 rebounds. Robinson, 20 points, 9 of 12 shooting. Lindo, 12 points, 5 of 7 shooting. 44 bench points for Cheshire, 3 for Leicester. Battle, 26. Johnson, 8 of 9 shooting for 20 points. Loving, 15 points. And Kerry, by the way, he had 11 points and 10,
Yeah, if you remember,
10 assists.
Johnson struggled with a lack of talent at the beginning, but he's a great complementary player when you've got a lot of talent around him.
Mm,
8 of 9. I mean, that wins the game.
mm. So I'll quickly run through the table. Lions 9 and 1, Bristol and Sheffield 7 and 5, Cheshire 7 and 7, Manchester 5 and 4, Leicester 5 and 5, Newcastle 4 and 7, Surrey 3 and 5, and Caledonia 2 and 10. I guess the other beauty of it all is you've got all of that at the end of a game where two teams end up
Mid,
500.
yeah, the definition of mediocrity, both 500. Yeah, yeah, I know it's crackers,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
And
yeah,
London had a great weekend.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And Sheffield lost, Bristol lost.
yeah,
The red carpet is out.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
but that's why we like it, Dan. And after all,
That's
if
where we
we didn't have
like it.
games in Cheshire, we wouldn't have about 5 hours of material this season so far.
Yeah, yeah. And we wouldn't be sipping from our
You will be
mugs
sipping from
either.
from a very flattering
Sipping,
silhouetted cup.
sipping
Yeah.
Budweisers from our mugs.
Uh,
And I refrained. I've got twirls and cream eggs and fudges sat here. I
just happy that you
refrained
didn't.
from eating any of them while
I'm
I
just
was.
happy that you didn't, give it to one of the coaches to smash it on the table and start wielding it like most of my
Comes a
clients.
blunt in it. Comes a that's a prisonable offence, Dave, as you well
If it's
know.
made or adapted, yeah, made
Yes,
or adapted for
indeed.
injury,
Yeah,
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 absolutely
yeah,
broken bottle. Starting
yeah.
point 6 months.
On that legal note, and I think hopefully a minute or two under 2 hours, I don't know. We're going to call it a night, and we're going to be back again next week. I've no idea what's happening. I think I'm doing a Leicester game actually on Sunday, so maybe we
Oh,
can do it on Sunday night. But we'll work it all out. But for now, we'll rush off into the sunset. See you next week, people. Goodbye.
bye. God bless.